In the courtroom, it's a circus. Homie got the lions, prosecutors crooked, messy and frying. Innocent rappers, the tears like diamonds. Truth gets twisted, just like the Mayans. Panel keeps the real, drop knowledge bombs. Corruption all blast like Vietnam songs. Free the innocent, they ain't commit the crimes. Justice served hot, rhythm and rhymes. The show and survive, justice goes live. Spotlight on the truth, we cut through the lies. Corrupt gotta run, we see through the skies. For the innocent rappers, we rise.
Heyo, folks, and welcome to Friday Panel Show. Today, it's a two-part panel show. We are discussing the Delphi trial first, and then we will move on to the YSL trial. Now, as a brief intro to the Delphi trial, I'm going to have you have a little more unusual way. In Old Norse legends, the god of justice and reconciliation, Forseti, sat in peacetime and presided over arguments. And Forseti, for instance, is Old Norse for the presiding one, or president if you want. Now, he had his golden axe, and when he passed his judgment, he chose the blunt end. If you didn't abide with his rulings, he showed you the sharp end. And since then, every court in Western world have a judge that sometimes bangs the gavel. And completely unrelated to Old Norse or Odinism, according to the prosecution and Judge Gull, let's bring in our guests. It is Andrea Burkhart.
Hi, Nick.
Hey.
That's a great introduction. I have learned more about Norse mythology that I never knew, just through the sort of cosplay exposure that we got through this Odinism practice that is apparently alarmingly commonplace up here in northern Indiana.
Yeah, I mean, that particular bastardization of Old Norse faith is, they are calling themselves the Odin Brotherhood, or the offshoot that is the Vinlanders.
Mm-hmm.
And according to them, Forseti, who I just mentioned, had a meeting with a guy named Mirabello in the late 80s, early 90s in London, because why not? And then Mark Mirabello have written a lot of books since, which these people follow, and it's all pure garbage. Has very little to do with the actual the Aesir faith, but it's very good if you are a white supremacist who wants to play cosplay.
Definitely the impression I got.
Yep. Now, these lies-infested people are morons. Problem is, they are dangerous morons. But thank you for showing up, and I hope we can have a great discussion. Let me bring on two others. You have already met one. It's Mo in the Deep End.
Hello, everyone.
Mo, you are basically a local. Well,
I'm about an hour and a half south of Delphi, so it's only, get on the freeway. Nick followed me up there, which was dangerous because I swear to God, I'm the reincarnated leader of the Donner Party. I got him lost when we were up on the path. I told him intrinsically, emphatically, I was like, do not listen to me. I am directionally challenged. We get there and I'm like, I think this is the path. And
yeah.
Nick
And
was like,
That's so funny
"Sounds
because the
good."
path is like maybe a half mile long. I'm
Yeah.
having a hard time imagining getting lost on that path.
No, but where
can
the
do that.
sign is on the offshoot of the road, there is a path down the right, and we thought that must be it. Let's have the two cripples go down where only raccoons and deer are. So that was
In my
interesting.
defense, I did warn you.
Yeah, you did. And also, let's bring on somebody who has also followed this case. It is Hella.
Hello, Andrea. How are you? Welcome back home.
So glad to see you here. I'm not actually home yet. I am still in Indiana. I could not miss up the opportunity to just celebrate and have a nice thank you dinner for all the wonderful people who came out and line sat for me and basically made it possible for me to do that coverage. So we were only going to be able to do it over the weekend because people work and stuff like that. So sticking around here still.
You stayed there to say thank you. That's nice of you, because I think Jeff is probably like, come home. Yeah. We've been looking after Jeff in the chat.
And I appreciate it so much.
He's a troublemaker.
He's got a little bit of bad boy in him. Yes, he does.
He does. He does. Hey, Mo, how are you, love?
Good. I'm doing good. Trying to get this office space and my modified office space going so I can sit in my comfy chair on not so great days.
It looks good.
I have so much stuff that I want to put in that it would look like maximalism squared. So I'm trying to do
be fair, the old one
thing.
looked a little like maximalism squared compared to this one. So
I know
this one's looking
Mr.
really
Mo
clean.
actually did photojournalism school in the military for some reason. And was saying, you need to have a focus and all this. And I'm like, but I have 90 billion things that I want to show everyone because they're so cool.
Right, darling. Thanks for having us on, Nick.
Oh, thank you all for being here. Now, Andrea, I have a few questions.
Bring them. I probably have questions too.
Yeah. Now, I watched Lawyer Lee's stream with her timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And a few things just instantly showed up. This is weird. And then I saw something else on Twitter, which I, of course, can't find again. The ping of the phone. The time is really interesting, but also it seems like the place is also quite interesting. Could you inform the rest of us who might have missed out on it?
Yeah, so this was at about 5:44 in the evening. It was the last successful ping to Libby's phone before the phone went dark. And it was picked up off of a tower that is not the same tower that services the Monon High Trails. This tower is over kind of on the other side of Delphi. I can't remember now off the top of my head exactly what the name of this area is, what the name of that tower is. But so this is, my understanding is among the information that was excluded. The defense wasn't allowed to bring up much of the geolocation data that was able to be obtained in this case. It was regarded by the judge as being unreliable, notwithstanding that the prosecution subsequently brought in all kinds of geolocation data to support their case. So this was important timing wise because it's simply inconsistent with the state's theory that if this phone was across the other side of town, then it was not left underneath the body of Abby at 2:30 in the afternoon, when according to the state's theory that the murders were at that point complete, and Richard Allen would have then left the scene.
Sorry, is this the one at 4:44 p.m. Near Wells Street? Or
4:44. Yes, not 5:44. Yeah, 4:44.
sorry,
over.
5:40. You're right. No, you're right. 5:44
okay.
p.m. at
Yeah.
Wells Street.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
So near
Correct.
near Westfall's house.
Yes, near Patrick Westfall's house, which
Yeah.
is conveniently
What a
also
rinky-dink.
about 7 minutes from the end of the Monon High Bridge, where there was approximately a 7-minute gap in the movement of the phone, according to the health data that was recovered.
Yeah.
It just never made sense to me that whoever did it could do that with one girl and the other girl doesn't scream in a area where they made clear that sound carries, and it does.
Mhm.
And it's such a high risk area to try to do a first time crime with all these multivariables and things like that. So it always made sense to me that they probably were taken somewhere else. I mean, I'm not fancy. I just, watch trials and way too much Law and Order SUV or SVU. One of those ones.
There's so much of this case that doesn't make sense. The mechanism that's described by the state for how this transpired, it doesn't fit with the health data from the phone. It doesn't fit in terms of location. It doesn't fit in terms of elevation. It was established pretty clearly at trial that the Monon High Bridge is 65 feet above the level of the creek. The state's theory is that Richard Allen, drove or otherwise, forced the girls to cross the creek at some point in time shortly before the killing. So that would require a descent being recorded on the phone of 65 feet. But all we have is 20. And that conveniently gets them to approximately the level of the driveway where, it leads to Brad Weber's house and back out to the county road 625. So just from a pure data standpoint, the state's theory, it doesn't work.
Yeah, and that also connects to why did he, that of all days, why did he decide to clock out half an hour early from work?
Mm-hmm.
And
And they
I've gone
didn't
through.
check the videos
No, and
to
I've
even
checked.
see if his car was there.
Yeah, I checked the Subaru plant, and Subaru, for those who don't know, I do labor law, so this is kind of in my wheelhouse. The Subaru plant have used the lean theory of efficiency at workplace, and one of these items is you clock out, then you change clothes. So when did he actually arrive? Now, it might be that he was in such a rush that he simply didn't care. We don't know because there are no videos of it. But if there were videos and he was in a very rush, that kind of fits. But that's pure speculation since we don't have it.
Yeah, and this is part of the problem, of course, with how all of this unfolded, and the fact that we're now investigating this new piece of information 7 years down the road. It's fairly unlikely that security footage is going to be maintained for that long. It's high, it's large. These are large files. I mean, it's a lot of information to store. I was contacted by somebody who said that they have worked at this Subaru plant before, and that at least in respect of the way that the clock out system works. At this particular plant, apparently it's like tied in with the turnstile that goes directly to the parking lot. So basically, what you do is you swipe a key, it clocks you out, and it opens the turnstile for you to get out. And you are at that point then at the parking lot. So I think that part of the story it doesn't necessarily trouble me so much, but I am very concerned about the inability to follow up on the ATM business that Brad Weber acknowledges having the potential for some types of records to be there, some type of video surveillance. Again, 7 years down the road is probably not there. But just in terms of even the records of him accessing cash the orders that he would have, any types of recollections that people might have this far down the road. There's just a lot that potentially could have and maybe should have been pursued there. But because this was such a late emerging piece of information, you simply don't have time to do that.
Yeah.
Andrea, can I ask you, do you think that even with all the things that were kept from the jury, just with what they had, that perhaps they were missing something really important? Like, I feel like this whole bridge guy thing is a little bit of a distraction from the crime scene photos. So when it comes down to it, those crime scene photos do not align with the story of him just doing a quick murder and being distracted by a van. Right? So do you think that it's possible that the smoke and mirrors that were put up by the prosecution in terms of there's this guy on the bridge, it's him, and focus on that, guys, rather than, oh, by the way, here's these crime scene photos, and push that aside? Do you think that it's possible? Like, you saw them all, right? Do you think it's possible? How could they overlook that?
I'll tell you why. Because I was here. We didn't get any information. In 5 years, we got 2 sketches that are diametrically opposed. One is old and grizzled. The other one is young. Not to mention other, things. In 5 years, we got an additional guys down the hill. So we have nothing. So this is fertile ground for all of these conspiracy theories and different theories to come in. Then you don't have everything was sealed in the case. So we got a probable cause affidavit that made no sense, even in my non-lawyer brain. But you have the powerful and very difficult, he confessed. And people don't get, because everyone says, I wouldn't do it. Just like everyone's like, if I were in 1940s Germany and there was an Austrian painter with a weird, funny mustache, I'd be that guy standing up. Jordan Peterson says it correctly. No, the hell you wouldn't. You would not. No, you would not imagine that you would confess. You'd be like, no, I'd sit there and I'd, people don't get it until they get it. And I thought the videos would help them get it, but it's still a powerfully, hard to get over thing when you confess. And when he was able to sound lucid, those really hurt him versus when he was sounding crazy, because they were like, no, maybe he had moments of lucidity. And we have, specialists who have gone through an 8-week training and, learned to, I have no idea what they learned to do. Apparently, like, sit there and tell everyone everything's okay when you're beating your head like a toddler on the floor. So I'm sorry, I bumped in, but just from a local perspective, we're simple people. If you say something, you mean it. That's hard to get over.
Hella, to try to answer your question a little bit, I think that the reason why the state focused so much on Bridge Guy and the video of Bridge Guy is because he really was Schrodinger's perpetrator. Like, you could project anything you wanted onto that grainy little video of Bridge Guy. You can't tell how tall he is. You can't really tell how old he is. You can't really tell what he looks like. He's dressed in an extremely nondescript way for this part of the country. And so there's a reason why there were, thousands of tips flooding in of people thinking, my ex-husband looks just like Bridge Guy, or the, neighbor down the street looks just like Bridge Guy. And so that's a point for the state to focus on, because if they focus on the timeline, if they focus on the crime scene, those are much, much, much harder things to explain. And so you don't
100%.
want the jury thinking about those particular issues, because if they're trying to fill in the gaps and think about, what explains these discrepancies, they might reach on the conclusion that, well, the theory that the state is pitching here, that Richard Allen did this all by himself in this time frame for these reasons, it really doesn't add up. with what's objectively there on the ground. So it's much easier to just rely on that desire to try to fill in the gaps and to try to solve the crime, and to frankly assume that, well, if police picked this guy, they must have had a good reason to do it. They got that, like Mo is saying, substantiated with those confessions that they got. And I think for a lot of people that might just be the end of the story.
But they just overlooked the fact that those crime scene photos that they looked at, they do not align with the story, like at all.
So
I agree.
I have a question that may be out there, but do you think that the satanic panic, the kind of overreach, really possibly pushed the police into, this is not that, we are not going to go through that, we are not going to have the West Memphis 3, and they really just put blinders on the whole thing from the get-go? Because that kind of seems to be the jive I've gotten, where it's like, yes, Odinism is, when I saw the Frank's motion, when I first heard like the bullet points come out, I was like, oh my God, defense man, bear, pig, really? This is what we're going with. For serial.
I remember.
But I've read the whole thing. I did videos on it, and everything came from the discovery. Everything came from them doing their own investigation. And the fact that this was not allowed in, this possibly exculpatory evidence, the lack of parity between the defense and the states, which I think will be a really big thing, but I'm not a lawyer, so. But for people that have watched the entire time and lived here, we kind of adopted Libby and Abby. And we kind of, they were our kids. We wanted to find out the truth and we wanted to learn it. And I was so relieved when Richard Allen was caught, because I thought, finally, we caught the monster. And then I read the probable cause affidavit and I was like, what the hell do they have with him? And that's the first time I learned what really happened to the girls. They were so close-lipped about the crime scene, about everything else. I thought they'd been shot.
Wow.
So... But I don't know how to work Reddit, so I didn't dig deep into the Delphi rabbit hole at that time. But that's the jarring thing. They had all of this evidence. They didn't share with us. They kicked out the FBI. All these things that don't make sense, and we have to sit here and take it. And it is so frustrating, because as of right now, Indiana, my city, or my state, has co-signed justice that I don't co-sign.
I understand very much the perspective that this Odinism angle, it seems wild, it seems improbable, it seems bizarre, it seems like the satanic panic throwback, like you're suggesting, and I think it may very well be. The problem that I have a few problems with it. I mean, number one is just the straightforward, if it's so stupid, then let the jury make that decision. It doesn't seem to be a good justification for me to not litigate the question. And by not litigating it, it means we don't actually get to explore the facts and get a better sense of, is this grounded in some kind of reality, or is this just a fantastical, something that was spun up by investigators early on. The other concern that I have with it is that the justifications that were given by law enforcement for clearing these original third-party culprits, they don't stand up to scrutiny, in my opinion, and certainly not compared to the treatment that they gave to Mr. Allen. When Elvis Fields explains he's at this hospital, and the reason his phone isn't there, it won't place him there, is because they use, signal jammers at hospitals for people's privacy. This is not a credible explanation, but this seems to be enough, for law enforcement to say, okay, well, nothing else to see here, time to move on. When Brad Holder says, no, it can't be me because I was at work until 4:30 and we've got his records there. And police say, okay, that's it, can't be him. But your medical examiner can't place the time of death for these girls to any time sooner, any time more precise than between when they disappeared and when they were found the next day. So it's only if you are tunnel vision focused on a single person perpetrator that a partial alibi like that for the first 2 hours of a 20-some hour period would be enough to clear somebody. These are the parts of it that's very problematic to me. And then when you compare that to Mr. Allen, who I mean, they had to lie about what he said in his interrogation. They had to lie about aspects of what he said. They had to distort it. They had to misrepresent the gun comparison, the bullet comparison, not explain that they had not been able to exclude other firearms from being the source of that bullet. Not explain that they use this testing method that's completely unvalidated and has no, scientific kind of support for the methodology that was used. It's just such a glaring double standard that's part of why it should have been fleshed out at trial to give us more information, because when you have these inconsistent treatments like that, that's going to create fertile ground for people to wonder why. And that's where things like the conspiracy theories and the corruption types of arguments get room to grow.
Exactly. And the thing is with Brad Holder, like, he was clearly connected to all of the other people that were in that Franks motion. So it's not like he was put forward as being the only perpetrator. It wasn't like Elvis Fields was the only perpetrator. Elvis Fields was clearly written to be a fanboy of Brad Holder. So all of these people are interconnected. Brad Holder is a Masonic brother of Nick McClelland. What's going on? Well, actually, that kind of explains what's going on, doesn't it? Maybe.
I mean, we shouldn't have to ask these questions. That's really the problem. We should have just been able to have a fair trial about it, and because we didn't, we still have to wonder.
Yeah, and the lack of streaming, the lack of the ability for regular people to go in and be reporters. I understand that the world is this is hard for mainstream media, but we are the media now. We are the captain now. People don't want to listen to you. They want to listen to real people with real experience and real emotions because we tell the truth. And for, you and, I'm crap with names. Ali?
Lawyer Lee.
Mata?
Oh, Bob Mata, yeah.
Well, for a bunch of you not to be able to look at the exhibits, we have we have no baseline. I mean, you guys can give us your kind of opinion about how they're reacting, but it is so imperative in a trial to kind of see how the lawyer's doing too, because the lawyers play to the jury, and you can tell when, they're not really confident in their story or they are, and you can kind of get a feel of, how people are reacting. I will say I am shocked by this verdict simply because of the caliber of the questions that came from the jury. Now, I was on jury duty and I was shocked to death when I learned that we could talk to each other without deliberation prior to deliberation. I was like, this isn't allowed. I do, well, first of all, I was surprised I got picked when I told them what I did, but I was like, no, we're not. That's not allowed.
I would love to hear about that, because that was for me such a wild card in trying to figure out how this process is working, because I've never encountered anything like that before, where the jury can kind of pre-deliberate. And so I'd love to know, like, what was your experience of that like? Like, did you guys do it? What did you talk about?
It was a case that involved a hunter and a state trooper, and since I don't have a background in hunting, I would, in the middle, kind of ask, okay, what's kind of the standard protocol? Like, would you only wear an orange hat? Would you tell people around you that you're going to be scouting your property on the first day of deer hunting season? Like, things like that, because that's a world I don't quite understand. So I would talk about that, and I would kind of remind them, because I'm an uber nerd, goody two-shoes, like, we can't deliberate yet, but, that kind of thing. But it was strange, and I think people would notice things because I would notice the defendant and how nervous he was, and then I would notice the state, and I would kind of pick up on different personalities. So I would kind of go back and check and say, okay, how did you feel about this witness? Just overall, like, did you feel like, they were kind of shooting straight, or did they have an attitude? Was there a grudge? That kind of thing. So it was nice to be able to decompress and not carry that through the whole thing. but it was really hard not to get into like, I think this case is full of S,
Yeah.
basically.
Because you're not allowed to do that, right? You're not allowed to come to any
That
kind
would be
of conclusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was nice to be able to get questions answered there. So, you didn't kind of lose a witness. So you could go back and like say, okay, these two witnesses, how do we feel? Because after it was just a like 3-hour trial, but it still was a lot to kind of decompress and go through. So it was nice to do that, but it was also hard to not try to form an opinion. So I think it would be really, really easy to just start deliberating. And I don't know how many people stick to that as much as they should.
So that was a 3-hour trial. Imagine it over weeks.
Yeah, that's the thing. And they were separated from their family. And, there was just a lot in this trial that reminds me of a Stalinist kangaroo court more so than a U.S. court that I thought it was.
Don't be dissing the kangaroos, man. Kangaroos got nothing to do with this.
I'm sorry. Furry court. Furry, weird.
Furries, fine. Diss the furries. That's fine.
Now we got another guest.
I'm get angry letters from furries. You know this.
Sean, potentially criminal. Welcome. You're fashionably late.
Yeah.
And
Just a little bit.
fashionably
Sorry about that, Nick.
not yourself.
No, this is inexcusable. Off you go. No, I'm just.
All right,
Now I want to bring up something that I find really. Now we have all seen these. We have all seen them. I mean, 2017, we are looking for the guy on the left. 2019, ignore the guy on the left. We are now looking for the guy on the right. But
Yes.
I don't think it's very publicly known that there are 2 more sketches.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was something that I wasn't aware of until
This guy.
much later.
Well, that guy looks
What
like
is
the
the
2019
Unabomber
guy.
and Eminem's child
And
doing?
apparently, starved Johnny Depp was at the scene.
Well, I was about to say, if Towley from South Park was a person,
Stop, Johnny
that's
Depp.
him.
Well,
I've
he
not
looks
seen the
like the
black
boyfriend.
one.
Let's just, I mean,
Wow.
yeah.
I've not seen this last one before.
That's the sketch. That's from Teresa Liebert's description of the man that she had seen, a strange man hanging around the mailboxes over on the south side of the bridge the morning of the 13th. This is that gentleman. And I am told, although I don't know, that this sketch apparently looks somewhat like Elvis Fields.
Okay. I can show you Elvis Fields, and I'm not really too sure because Elvis Fields doesn't look that healthy. He looks he looks more to me like the boyfriend of Abby.
Well, if you look at the first 2 sketches, they could be a father and son. The nose is a similar shape, with kind of the, kind of jowling. Basically, they look like they could be related to me, if you ask me. The first 2.
Yeah, and because I've seen, I will not show pictures of Brad and his family, but yeah, if you took Brad's old son that just recently became a part of the Masons, put a scarf over the mouth of him and
Wait, does this make 2 big cover-ups the Masons did? One, Jack the Ripper, now this. I'm just asking for Alex Jones.
Now,
Yes.
yes.
Woohoo!
Yeah, so, but all of this we could have had answers to if the defense was allowed to have a proper defense. But they weren't.
Yeah, because the defense wasn't allowed to present any of these sketches. And so, the fact that the police had gone down all of these different rabbit holes with all these different descriptions, the fact that none of these people look really anything like Richard Allen, and these are the best depictions that we got from those eyewitness descriptions, we know that the eyewitness descriptions in and of themselves, they don't match him. They're describing tall, young, muscular looking man. Betsy Blair's man is beautiful. You know,
Oh gosh,
just
that
nothing against
testimony,
Mr. Allen, but just
cringe.
He's not that. Yeah.
not anything at all like the man that we see there sitting in the courtroom. To me, it was completely underscored by the fact that nobody in the courtroom identified Richard Allen sitting right there in front of you as the man that I saw on the trail that I described.
Well, yeah, and to have Lieutenant Holman sit there and, you know, if you could, you know, you think this is Richard Allen, like that would have been, is this Richard Allen? Yes. 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 Mm-hmm. Those are one of the times where, yes, you know, just the absurdity of, you know, because he's going to have to say yes because he's already said yes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've already said this is him. And even if the witnesses don't say anything, having Holman say that.
Yeah, and that's the problem with so much of what was excluded. They seem to have taken the perspective Judge Gold did, that at least if the defense is offering it, if it's, you know, set out of court, it's hearsay, you don't get to do it. And there was no consideration about what was being offered for the truth of the matter asserted. The defense doesn't have to be asserting that any one of these individuals is the person who killed Abby and Libby. You know, that not necessarily the truth of the matter that's being asserted. It simply goes to, this is who law enforcement was looking for, whatever the source of it, you know, was, and whatever validity it has in terms of identifying the perpetrator. It just goes to emphasize that this investigation was really all over the place from day one.
And Andrea, I guess this is something I wanted to ask you, and I don't know if you know the answer now, but with Judge Gull, actually, I don't know. Can you guys hear me okay?
Not really. You're
Okay.
breaking it up
So,
a bit.
You're
with
cracking
Judge
a little
Gull,
bit.
Just
I
a
mean,
scotch.
I mean, I've made a bunch of comments about her. I mock her. I've mocked her a bunch.
Oh yeah.
She's a woman of few words when she denies things. I mean, is the, aside from just some of these decisions being a little goofy and weird, is this kind of normal for her and how she handles her business as a judge?
I need to
I don't know. I have
able to find out. Okay.
Yeah, I have heard stories kind of from all sides of it. I've heard stories where she was like inexplicably lenient with somebody who committed the type of crime against a child that one is not ordinarily expect a judge to be particularly lenient about. A gentleman who ended up basically with a probation sentence for an offense of that type of nature. But I've also heard stories. I got a name that was given to me for a case. If I can dig into it a little bit and get some more information, I'd like to. But somebody who it was described as she basically treated this person exactly like she treated Richard Allen. So it's hard for me to say. It was just so out of whack with it, beyond the normal, you know, judicial friendliness to the prosecution that you just kind of expect is routine. This was so above and beyond that. It's really like nothing I have ever seen before. And I have seen bad judges. I have never seen anything like this judge before.
Yeah, well, and that's what I wanted to ask, because I can't imagine, it's one thing to be a bad judge. And I mentioned this earlier today, and I know you heard it. You know, she has a reputation, whatever it is, in Fort Wayne, Indiana, but I can't imagine she can be this, like, to be this level of, deferential and biased. I can't see how she can do this for decades. Like, and not anybody ever have any issues, ever, not been grieved to the judicial commissions or to the, disciplinary count. Like, I can't imagine she can do this for decades like this. I mean, this is a special level of, I think, I have questions about her competency a little bit at this point.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of I'm in the process of trying to research her appellate record. She has been on the bench for quite a long time, so it is a slow undertaking. But so my answer to that at this point is come back and ask me later. I still have a lot of reading to do on that. But yeah, this would give me grave concerns if her behavior, like it was in this case, is normal and has simply been accepted as normal for this long in this state. That would really, really alarm me about the state of justice in Indiana.
It would also, I guess,
do you
either
think-
way is really bad. Like all of a sudden, if she's slid off the track, or that's even worse because now it's like she's just now and
you're breaking up.
watching it and nobody's like, "Oh, this is fine." I think
You're
it's just
breaking up
bad.
severely now, Sean.
Are you driving
Oh,
through a
okay,
tunnel?
give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
Mike's headphone says Gull has been reversed recently for a similar defense attorney removal.
Oh. If you can
So-
find the case, send it to Andrea.
Andrea, what role do you think that burden shifting played in Richard Allen's case? Because I think a lot of times now people want the defense to prove you're not guilty rather than the state prove that you are. And then what do you think we can do to kind of fix that? Is there a way we can write instructions or explain things better to jurors to kind of make them understand where the burden lies?
Yeah, this is a great question. And this is something that I talked about a couple times in the stream. I'll tell you where specifically it bothered me the most, and it had to do with the defense experts. We already know there was a massive disparity between the resources that were made available to the defense to be able to investigate the basis for the state's case and the resources that the state had available to try to, follow up pretty much any investigative lead that they really wanted to. And so this, I think, is difficult in a case like this, where it would come up that, okay, the defense has hired an expert. Here's the scope of what they were asked to review. Could they have done more? Yeah, they could, but it costs money to do that. And we already know the defense was denied funding to be able to pursue those leads. The only reason they were able to present a lot of this expert testimony at all is because they literally crowdfunded for it. And so that was a situation where we saw it come out in some of the questions with the firearms examiner that the defense had hired. Well, why didn't you examine the bullet? Why didn't you do this? And the problem there, I think, is an assumption of that parity of resources that simply is not the case. And so I don't know that more instructions are really the answer there, because the jury is instructed. The defense has no burden. They don't have to put on any evidence at all. You can't hold it against them if they don't. But people do it anyway. And so maybe this was just a failure on the part of the defense to not have their expert prepared to answer that question. Why didn't you do it? Because the court wouldn't give me money to be able to do that, examination. Things like that. Similar things came up with the cell phone forensics as well. She had a very limited scope of what she was able to examine. And the problem is that encourages, if the jury is just looking at that in a vacuum, they're thinking, well, that's sus. Why wouldn't you want to get the entire story? They think it looks underhanded. And the reality is, no, they weren't getting paid like the state experts were getting paid to run down every single rabbit hole. So they just didn't have that type of option. And that's a piece of information that I think it's critical for the jury to have if they're going to be trying to evaluate the state's technical case versus the defense's technical case. You can't assume that they're on equal footing.
Of course not, because he's the bad man. The state brings in the bad man, right? I'll be Sean, because Sean's just like driving through a tunnel. They bring the bad man in, and the bad man is, in this case, Richard Allen, because they trust the state to bring the bad man in, and jurors can't help but expect that the defense is going to disprove that he's the bad man. That's just it. And unfortunately, you can give as many jury instructions as you like, but Sean, I'm being you. Yeah, he's the bad man, right?
Andrea, I don't know if you've ever heard me say that before, but but I know the experience.
Mhm.
When that prosecutor turns around and goes, "That right there is the bad man."
Bad man.
That's all they do. They point.
Yes.
That
if you could have heard
is-
this closing, Sean, if you could have heard this closing with Nick McClelland, talking about how just the blood and like this awfully graphic description, and Libby was crying and the fear, and it's that man there, Richard Allen, that caused all that. Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
It
And
works.
I've said it before. I remember the first trial I was ever involved in. I was helping out another attorney, and they let me join them. The guy we were representing, he, they weren't afraid. They were like, "Let's box it up and do it." But when the prosecutor turned around and pointed, he got a little low in the chair. And even I was like, "Oh, this is a weird feeling." And even when it happens today, it's still a little like, I'm ready for it, but still, you're like, okay, yeah, I still understand how that feels. I've been the prosecutor before pointing like that, and yeah, you can tell because literally you point and everybody forgets you're there for about a second.
Mm-hmm.
You could be like, all of a sudden, you could probably put a clown right there and nobody would ever notice.
No.
A puppy. You could have a sweet little puppy sitting right there, and the entire courtroom would look at that puppy, be like, "What did that little shit do?"
Guilty. He's a
Lock him up and throw
narcissist.
away the key.
Yeah, and I will say with that case I had, the guy was like, he wasn't taking any deals, but the victim got out in the courtroom. And she's like, and they start talking, and she starts crying, and she's like, "He's one," and she started pointing. And the guy that was it, he broke. But yeah, the pointing and all of that, that's the jury's looking for the bad man, and you're showing them who a bad man is right there. And Richard Allen's attorneys weren't allowed to go, "Look, there were other bad men. This could have been the bad man."
Yeah.
Yeah, and even the person on the stand, they weren't, Mr. Weber, they weren't allowed to impeach him properly.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a whole sideline that that one really bothered me, because the impeachment process, it was just a joke from the beginning. There were never consistent rules in that courtroom about what you needed to do to impeach somebody. The state would just object on grounds that are completely wrong. Like at one point, Mr. McClelland's arguing, "No, you have to refresh him before you can impeach him." Absolutely, you do not. These are separate and distinct ways of confronting a witness. But so they would just object, and the judge would sustain them. It would get the defense completely off their game. Then when Brad Weber is finally on the stand, and Andrew Baldwin does an absolutely textbook confrontation with the prior inconsistent statement, it absolutely should open the door for that to be admissible. Judge Gold says, "No, you never showed him the police report." The rule in Indiana specifically says you don't have to show the witness the prior statement. And so this opened the door then for the defense to have to put Brad Weber back on the stand in order to lay that groundwork to be able to impeach him. And once he got back on the stand, having been probably talked to by, somebody who had an interest in him performing a little bit better, he did. If they had been stuck with that initial performance that Brad Weber gave, he just completely lacked credibility. It was utterly destroyed. It would have been in a completely different position for the defense, but for this little gamesmanship and inconsistent rules that the judge was applying whenever the defense was, getting somewhere material.
And when they had to recall him, guys, because they had to recall him later, he's not under oath again at that point. They can talk to that witness, and people can talk and be like, "Hey, Brad, here's how you should do next time when you go up there." And that's not illegal. So there's just taking advantage of the little, see, I didn't actually tamper with him. He wasn't under oath. Oh, well.
Yeah. I want to go back to the lead investigator, Mr. Holman. Now, in the probable cause affidavit, he said some interesting things, but he also, in later on, he said, "Yes, that is Mr. Allen. Yes, that is Mr. Allen, more or less, to all the sketches." But this is not the first time he said that some things that look nowhere alike looks alike. For instance, let me bring up from the probable cause. Well, I'm not showing you the probable cause affidavit, but in the probable cause affidavit, there were these different types of cars. Smart car, a PT Cruiser, Ford Focus, and he claims they look the same. So this is a smart car.
Mm-hmm.
This is a
Okay.
PT Cruiser.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Now-
my dream car.
I would never know the difference.
Now,
They look
They're both
exactly the
garbage. You're
same.
correct, Hella. But
Yeah,
there's-
they have
Yes.
4 wheels.
I would recognize them by being dead on the side of the road. Other than that,
yeah.
It's
Yes.
kind of like the difference between a 2011 Elantra and a
Yes.
2016.
One of those is notorious for eating transmissions,
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
No.
we just ride kangaroos around here.
and
so-
especially into 2017, a PT Cruiser would be very noticeable because you're like, wow, I didn't know they were still driving around at this point.
Yeah.
one actually lasted that long. Like somebody is a genius
And that-
mechanic
well, no, and-
working on that one.
And I mean that it's a remarkable thing because
It
you
is.
usually don't see them being rusted out garbage because
That's true.
they never made it that far, even in a place like
Yeah.
Indiana where cars get eaten alive by rust.
It's kind of like the Blues
Uh-huh.
Brothers car just went like that. Remember?
now the thing that he seems to honestly believe that the descriptions of Bridge Guy looks like Mr. Allen, and these cars, yes, of course they look like. And there is a condition called prosopagnosia. It is a condition where you struggle to recognize faces.
Oh, I know someone who has that.
Yeah. So
I mean,
could it be that Mr. Holman,
No.
besides being
No,
an
he doesn't have
absolute
that.
horrible
No.
investigator?
no,
has-
Nick, no.
He's
Alexia?
just a gaslighting cop.
Yeah.
He's
No, he
like, have you
he's
seen him?
Dyslexia?
he's not only if he says, "Oh no, I was wrong," I mean, think about it. That's just part of the issue of human beings. Oh no, I've been wrong the entire time. I guess I've been wrong the entire time. You know, and that now it's no, really, that's what it is. I've been wrong the entire time, and now I'm on the world stage. I'm on the stage of history, to quote Soul Calibur.
Yeah.
You know,
But-
now you're gonna have to say, sorry, I've been a complete blithering, incompetent moron for the past 7 years. I've likely screwed this so bad we will never be able to convict another person again, because that's the other thing. By the time this goes to trial, Richard Allen goes to trial, that's the other issue. From let's say at that point something happened.
Eh.
In the time leading up to arresting Richard Allen, we got him. You basically, they can't go back. There is no going back from that point, because now let's say everything gets thrown out and they find one of these, as I like to, I don't know if you've heard me joke about him, Andrea, all the guys out there hiding Odin's spear in the woods, because I'm sure that's how they like to do it. I mean, because those big burly Odinists you see, I mean, because they all look like
Odin's
like
Fear. Out in
Yeah.
the woods.
Oh,
that's what they do.
yeah.
They're all about Odin's spear, and I'm
They
like,
love Odin's spear. They
I
love
didn't know
Odin's
it was
spear.
that kind of park.
well, I mean, I
Why
don't
is it
know. I mean,
always
the
people with
guys do that.
flippers that are
Men
like,
do that on the parks.
keep the bloodline clean. Why is it? It's always the guys with the lazy eye, the flipper,
Yeah.
and like one tooth, and they're like,
Yes,
our
or-
bloodline is
or the one-
pure.
You're square on over the target, Sean, because that's they're absolutely committed now to this theory. They got on the stand and testified under oath that there's no other possible explanation of events besides Richard Allen being the sole perpetrator. That it's not possible that somebody could have been there at the south end of the bridge. Like their tunnel vision drove them so far on
And
this
nobody
that they're
else.
completely locked into this theory. And so if this is thrown out, I think that just goes to show I've been saying from the outset that I would hope that if there was an acquittal or if there was some type of disposition that is, I think, fair, that would exonerate Richard Allen, the investigators would never accept that. They have just gone too far down this road and boxed themselves into their theory.
Yeah.
There's nowhere else for them to go.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. Like Elvis Fields could be on his deathbed tomorrow, and he'll say, "I did it."
Mhm.
Any of these guys say
And
did it,
here's the
Coleman will
knife.
be like,
Here's the knife,
impossible.
by the way, and it still has the blood on it.
Yeah. No, they could do that. He'll say,
Mhm.
I don't know how that happened, but I know Richard Allen did it. He will go to
Yeah.
his great, but that's also maybe he, there's the corruption issue there, but there's also just, once again, nobody wants to admit, oh my God, I completely fucked up the biggest thing I've ever worked on. The chips were down for me to be the professional, because 99 times out of 100, he gets to bumble and stumble his way through life as kind of like a mediocre hack detective. And yeah, maybe a murder or two.
He's Police Chief Wiggum.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing. For most of the time for cops, it's not that big a deal. You don't have this
No.
monster case that happens that, the world knows about. Maybe the community knows about, like you hear for like 20 years and then it kind of disappears, except for a newspaper article every once in a while. He probably was that guy. He kind of probably failed around and failed up. He's probably nothing special. And to be fair, it doesn't take much to be a decent police detective, because most people snitch on themselves. Usually there's a lot of evidence. It usually ties a lot of people to a lot of things. This one's different because, yeah. And he...
Hang on, I get my Ralph voice out. I'm a human lie detector.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, if you guys are noticing, Andrea's like, not... this is most cops. That's just like it doesn't take much to be skilled at it. It's not a hard job most of the time. You're piecing together usually people confessing on themselves or leaving trails of evidence. Or going to the most likely outcome, which, to be fair, is probably not always the best answer, but 99 times out of 100, it is what does it look like is what it looks like.
Mhm.
And for somebody like him to ever come back and say, oh my God, I completely screwed this up, you're never going to get that. You will never, ever get him to admit he messed up.
And it's too easy to leave it the way it is. Sorry, Andrew. It's too easy to continue the lie, right? So it's much harder to intervene and go, hang on, I think we screwed up, right? So all these people are suddenly invested in this person being the perpetrator. And how hard would it be to be the one law enforcement officer who stands up and goes, actually... I think there's a problem with this.
Yeah, but what happened to those people?
Resources.
Yeah, what happened to the 3-person investigation team? 2 are dead, and 1 is accused of misconduct. So what happens to the cops that don't fall in line? Yeah, One of, I think Mo have better information about who, but one of them was. Gunned down by a former correctionals officer a former Westfield correctional officer. Now,
I'm willing to find
FBI agency in our office in Terre Haute. So he got into a force multiplier fight and tried to throw Molotov cocktails at the FBI, which I don't endorse because they fight back.
I don't necessarily disagree with that course of action.
Well, I'm still in the goody two shoes stage of my streaming, so I'm trying to remind the crowd, the what is it? Is it the 5th of whichever one V told us to be really bitchy at?
Well, V would have. Well, yeah, but V would have also not been okay. V would not have had too much of a problem with that.
Well, no, I'm just saying V won't get his YouTube channel nuked, and I need more Sailor Moon stuff.
I'm just going to say feds are feds. There you go.
Feds are feds, yeah. Well, actually, okay. But there's someone in chat, and who is it? Who said that Ferenczi was an excellent good officer? Miku's headphones. Miku knows a lot about this case. I believe that there were a couple of good officers who actually really saw that Rick wasn't the guy. Todd Click was one of them, I believe, and
Kevin Murphy.
Yep.
And Ferenczi, Gregory Ferenczi, I think.
Yeah.
And there's one side tangent here, and I wanted to go down it real quick, if it's okay, Nick.
Sure.
And Andrea, I don't know. I don't want to say this is like victim blaming Rick, but I've said this kind of from the start when he got arrested. It's like, do not talk to the goddamn police.
I know.
And,
this is the thing.
Yeah. I mean,
don't
they
help. Don't help. That's
and
the
after they raid your house
away from this case, don't help.
And after they raid your house, you're like, oh golly, I'll go. I got a gun at 40 cal. Really? Well, how'd you know that? That's kind of weird. Now to be fair, there are a million guns. There are a million guns in 40 cal. There's a million 226s in 40 cal. Apparently, that was the Indiana State Police's gun of choice for quite a while too. So
yeah.
Which would have been funny to say, Detective Holman, you owned a 40 cal, a 226 at 40 cal, right?
You needed to do the point too, like you had a 40 caliber.
Well,
it could have been.
What would happen is I have the feeling Judge Gull would say not to be. She would take that as you being belligerent or overly hostile to a witness. So you'd have to be careful about that because if she did that to you in court,
overly hostile and ridiculous.
Sure, but you don't want to get rebuked in front of a jury. That wouldn't look good. So
okay,
I think you'd have to know how she's reacting. But but Richard Allen, yes, it's a great example of
blatant.
There is some gruesome crime in the neighborhood. Like, nope, if they come to you, that's one thing. But don't call it like, hey, these two people were brutally murdered. Hey, I was in the neighborhood, by the way. Like, I was like literally right there at the time. Like, hey, just give me a call. I'll tell you what I know.
Sean, okay, so we had this argument.
That's literally what he did, though.
Like, he didn't even see anything. That's the part that kills me. Like, he didn't even see anything.
Yeah.
I know.
Why would you go to the police to say I was there and I didn't even see anything?
Until they needed Rick Allen to be the person. They literally had no one that they wanted to investigate. They went through old files, found a misfile with a misspelled name from a DNR agent who didn't record this and put scribble scratch down.
Yeah, because that's why it didn't matter. He's like, okay, who gives a shit? Yeah, thank you, sir. Have a great one. Bye. Click.
And then, he's able to give a dissertation about how, well, he looked a little shifty to me. I was like, he's the one-armed man. I got a sense, but I wasn't, I didn't, you have to have evidence. But he was shifty-eyed. I'm pretty sure he doesn't even save his, Country Crock, butter tubs as Tupperware. I bet he buys real Tupperware. He's
the whole two meats in a grocery store parking lot, like that's sus or whatever. I mean, just the revisionism of that whole line of questioning was just
but
to me
that was Rick making it
transparent.
easier for the police to talk to him. Hey, I'm already going to the store. Why don't we meet up there?
You want to talk right now? Meet me there.
Yeah. And Nicola, that's not exactly how it happened. I'm like, that's basically what this ended up being. Was he's like, oh yeah, hey, there's this brutal, gruesome murder that like it makes no sense. Nobody saw, but hey, I was right there and I walked by and I didn't. You never want to put yourself near the scene of a crime. There's no incentive for you ever to do that. And
sorry,
and by helping out, they decided, you were there. You didn't hear anything. That's something, the killer would say something like that. And
so are you saying, Sean, that no one should ever call a tip line?
You'd be very, very, fucking
only
careful.
If you have an ex that you want to get,
I mean, do you want to risk being fingered as the bad guy? That's an issue.
It's scary that you can't call a tip line and help.
Well, Andrea, have you ever seen the movie Memento?
I don't think so.
Oh God, nobody's seen the damn movie. Has anybody here seen the movie?
I don't watch movies.
Oh my God, it's a Christopher Nolan movie. Got Guy Pearce in it.
Oh, so you can't hear anything? It's all
no, it's actually really well done. It's really well done.
Oh,
if you guys watch it, okay, it's very well done. Watch it. You'll get some. Watch it when you have some free time, Andrea.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah,
I know you're still in Indiana. It's at the end of it, it's like they made Richard Allen their John. Like if you watch it to the end, you'll understand this. They made Richard Allen their John G. Like he fits. He says he was there. Like we've already could start working down the road of him being, he's the guy. And
And what you see is when they stop asking the questions, they stop asking questions when they are reaching, the point where, okay, we've got just enough that we can hang it on him. But if we ask too many things, it might blow up in our faces. So we're not going to compare his hair to the hair of the unknown person that was found at the scene. Yeah. We're not going to ask the eyewitnesses to identify him in court. These are things that potentially can undermine your case. So they just stop. They don't go down that road of trying to flesh out those other possibilities.
One thing that
good enough for government work is a real saying, sadly.
One thing that struck me in this, they checked every piece of DNA against Rick Allen, nothing. But somehow, whatever DNA said it's not him, weren't tested against anything else. So how can the same DNA samples, but apparently they have enough DNA to exclude Rick Allen?
There was a whole bunch of conflicts with the DNA testimony. There was a massive amount of DNA that was recovered from the crime scene. But when I say massive amount, I just mean lots of partials in different spots. And for a whole variety of reasons, we heard that they weren't able to develop samples from all of this male DNA, that's found all over the scene. This is an area where, again, a defense expert would have been extremely helpful to be able to flesh out, okay, here's the implications of what you have when you have a partial. Here's the implications of what you have when you have a mixture. Here's things that you can do to, potentially still get information from those types of samples. Without that, the defense is just simply... it's good that they don't have at least someone there saying, oh yeah, this is Rick Allen's DNA at the scene. So I guess maybe they're just going with this is, it doesn't hurt us that his DNA isn't there and all this unidentified DNA is, but something a little bit more definitive in terms of being able to provide information about, did you even really try to match any of this to Mr. Allen? Was that an option that you had given the type and the quantity and the nature of these samples? I think that could have been potentially really helpful.
Yeah. And then you could have that expert say, it's an unknown male that's not Richard Allen. Because they can do that. They can tell you in the mixture, it's some guy, just not this guy.
Yeah. And might have been somebody who spat at the victims.
Yes.
Maybe.
Okay.
Because saliva contains DNA, but if you just park a loogie over the victims, might not be enough to actually include anybody, but enough to exclude somebody. And apparently it was enough to exclude Rick Allen. But then it should also be enough to exclude other people. Especially one who said he spat on them.
And Andrea, I have a question for you. And this is where I kind of get the feeling based on those paintings that were done by that one guy. Was that Brad Holt? The paintings where the one girl's trussed up like a deer in the tree. Which kind of makes a lot of sense because you don't find the blood. Did they ever kind of explain where did all the blood go?
They never did. Not with Abby. Abby always was a problem for me because we can see visibly on the crime scene. There just does not look to me like there's anywhere near enough blood here. She's got blood on the back of her sweatshirt. There's only a small amount on the ground underneath her neck. And the state's theory is she was killed exactly where she fell. You can compare that to the quantities of blood in this area that they are able to test and attribute to Libby. And you can see just with your own eyes, there's a massive disparity here between the quantities of blood. So I am very, very dissatisfied still with the explanation we got for Abby and her presentation, her condition, why she was so clean. Something the medical examiner said he's never seen this in his entire career with a wound of this nature. It is instinctive to try to touch it. Her hands were absolutely pristine. Yeah. They don't have an explanation for this that fits with a single man perpetrator.
And it is part of was there basically their argument, oh well, people just bleed differently, so she didn't bleed a lot. Like, was
They
that their
didn't-
argument?
they
Oh,
didn't
they didn't even
argue
get to
it at
that
all.
point. Oh, wow.
They just didn't argue it at all, and it's an issue that unfortunately, for whatever reason, that the defense didn't hammer on that one. You know, they focused their attention on other issues.
Oh, I'm not picking on Rosie and Bradley. I was saying, McClellan, did he just get to say like, oh yeah, everybody bleeds differently, because that is one where the jury go, okay, well, Dr. Mann said people bleed differently, and that does make sense, but yeah, the way I heard it described, there's just so little blood. It's like, where did it go? And it almost sounds like, somebody was strung up in a tree and slit open. It's like, well, you could collect blood that way. I've done it before. I've seen it done before.
It's Indiana. If you don't see a deer carcass hanging off a kid's swing set in November, it's not the holiday season.
Well, that's the other thing. I mean, it's not like that's why when she was trussed up, I'm like, well, I mean, I've seen that before, not with a person though.
Yeah.
Now, looking at because people referenced the Hangman tarot card, and now this is strapped, but why was she also staged that way on the ground?
Yes.
That is, I mean, at one point, coincidences stop being coincidences when there are time and time and time again.
Circumstantial evidence.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Guys, I do have to run. Unfortunately, I have another place that I have to be shortly. But I want to thank you so much for having me on and for letting me get to continue to process this case and everything that I saw and just
Thank you so much for coming.
Wild injustice that I feel that it was.
Yeah, thank you so much for showing up. Thank you for bringing in a lot of people to my little show. And I'm currently 5 subscribers away from 12,000 subscribers.
There you go.
So,
Congratulations. That is awesome.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank
Well,
you.
if you want to do it again, just let me know, and we can touch base about this case. There's obviously it's not over now. There's going to be an appeal. Appeals are my wheelhouse. I'll certainly be following that. So lots still to come here.
Yeah, and we need to get together and talk about the Sakura Anderson case because you there are some similarities. Well, not at least 2 similarities. No DNA on the crime scene, and where's the blood?
Yeah.
Okay.
And real quick, Iman Rezu, I don't know if you're joking or not, but no, the only person who can pardon Richard Allen is the governor of Indiana, not the president.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it, and I will see you next time.
See you.
Bye.
All right.
Well, shit, there goes your competent attorney.
Yeah. Now it's just the rest of us here.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's all right. You got me.
Yeah. And now I'm waiting for next segment, which we are waiting for is, of course, the YSL trial and the Department of Justice criticism of the Fulton County jails. But first, one subject that we didn't get to is the enhanced video and enhanced sound. Apparently, that was the one thing that the juror wanted to look closer to. The enhanced video and the sound bits. Now, I'm not a sound guy, but if you enhance video, there's not enough pixels. So they use a program to fill in pixels.
Oh, this is my thing.
Yeah.
Interpolation.
So, Hella.
Yeah.
And also, if you don't have good sound, you use a program that takes away distortion, adds in clarity. For me, that tells me, bridge guy or whatever, whoever, those words is not his actual voice. So if they use that to, well, he sounded a little like Rick Allen, he probably doesn't, because it's enhanced. Hella, your wheelhouse.
Yes.
Go.
Yes. I can't tell because I don't have the files, right? So to me, just looking at the Bridge Guy video, you can tell that it's pixelated, yes. It's been zoomed in, yes. It's called interpolation when you have pixels and your software adds pixels in to try and make it look more clear, add detail, right? It depends on the software and the operator, obviously, what is done to make it look different. Now, what I want to know is what the original looked like and then what the enhanced version looked like, because I don't think that the original's ever been released. Has it?
Not to my knowledge.
No. So if I can see the original and I can see and compare that to the Bridge Guy video we all know,
Yeah.
I can tell you exactly what's been done.
And we also don't know what program they used,
No.
which could be helpful too, because
It
they
could be
all do
helpful.
interpolation, but they all can do it with entirely different algorithm and formula.
Absolutely. However, yes, but I can still emulate it with something else.
Oh, I'm not
Right.
saying you couldn't.
Yeah.
I'm just saying
Yeah.
it helps to know, so you could say, "Wow, this one's garbage," or that
And apparently,
Yeah.
they never explained how they enhanced any of this at the trial. So we don't even know if what was presented at trial is the same that was presented to the public back in 2017 and 2019.
I feel like regardless, you can't tell who the hell he is anyway. So I feel like even as much enhanced as it was, if it's the same video that we've been looking at, unless they've like added a mustache and like tried to make some sort of characterization on it that makes it look more like Richard Allen, you can't tell who the hell it is. The face is completely obstructed. So
Yeah.
what good's it going to do trying to enhance it?
Yeah, and when he dresses. Most people that I see on the social media that says, "Oh, it's Rick Allen," because he's told he were exactly the same, which is not true. He wore similar clothing, and Mo, you are somewhat local, but even on this side of the pond, a windbreaker, sweatshirt, jeans. That is
Look,
that is the anthem of middle-aged men.
Yeah,
We dress
Carhartt
like that.
cap, relaxed fit jeans. I mean,
yes, in Indiana, Carhartt's in Indiana, yeah, or here in Ohio.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I have to tell you something. There's somebody who has found, and it's been out for a while, there's some video, half-hour video of someone videoing him at a pool bar, right? He's just hanging out with Kathy, and they're just watching a pool game, and I swear whoever is videoing this is videoing them, even though there's a pool game happening in the foreground. And there's hundreds of comments. It's like, oh, you can totally tell that's Bridge Guy. Look at the way he's got his hand in his pocket, and look at the shape of his jeans, and there's like 10 Bridge Guys there. They all
Yeah,
look
well, that's the
exactly
thing.
the damn same.
Yeah, like a blue Carhartt. There's a gajillion of them. Like, and that's what I was waiting for you to say. I'm like, I bet the bar was full of guys who looked like that. And I bet you I could go to a bar. I can go to probably 15 bars here in Ohio now, as it's getting colder, and I'll find guys who look like that.
Now it's November and fall, early winter. Just go outside on a main street somewhere or a shopping mall somewhere and just look around. You see Bridge Guy everywhere.
Yeah.
Because that's how we middle-aged guys dress. Now, I'm going to switch over to the next subject. And with that, here's Empress Fox.
Hello, everybody.
Hey,
Welcome.
welcome.
nice to meet you.
How's
Yeah.
everybody doing tonight?
Hello.
Good, hey, welcome.
I'm doing good. Now, the YSL trial, the state's case in chief is in their last witness. It is, according to the closed captions, it is Melissa the Burrito. And that has been so far very interesting. I have watched it. I haven't covered it yet. I will go through it tomorrow with you guys, with my standard audience, and well, hopefully all of you. And she's been caught in. You could see on the face of Max that answer is completely new. You could see it on Max's face that, oh, this is strange. So I can't wait for the cross-examination to start. But also, the Department of Justice now have concluded their investigation of Fulton County Jail and have concluded that they are in violation of the 8th and 14th Amendment. They need immediate remedies to be done. And one of the things they conclude, 17-year-old boys and girls, the average time they have been in jail was 396 days. That's the average time for a 17-year-old to be in Fulton County Jail.
Well,
And
oh, I was gonna say they and I don't know, Empress, if you've heard of this guy, a guy named Maurice Jimerson.
I haven't.
He was at Douglas County. I know that's down that way. He spent 10 years waiting trial down there. And yeah, that's a, there are long times everywhere across the country, but yeah, what's going on in Atlanta is a special amount. Like it's
a disgrace.
Yeah. And
What
I mean,
is.
you hear about some things, you've heard of some other, like at Rikers Island, there have been other people, there have been other famous, cases of inmates who they died while in custody or, but yeah, it's just a special, it's just a special thing down there. I mean, it only gets,
It's so wrong.
And
I
then-
mean, people may have committed a crime, but they're still people. They're still brothers. They're still sisters. They're still aunts and uncles, moms, dads.
But not
You know,
every,
the
not,
whole
every, not everybody in there
population
committed a
sees things
crime
that way.
either, though. That's the
That's
other thing.
the
When
other
it
thing
comes
too,
to-
yeah.
To Rice Street,
Yeah.
not everybody in there, they haven't even gone to see a judge yet to fight their cases. So
Yeah,
we don't
it's
know if
just-
they're innocent or guilty,
It's awful, and it's an awful situation.
And the current number for being incarcerated without even having a bond hearing is closing in on 6 months without even having a bond hearing.
and
And
that makes it,
So
Yeah, it's
how did
ridiculous.
How did Fanny get reelected with all of these terrible numbers, with all of this congestion?
because they
uh,
see everybody sees the headline of Rico's and how in all her press releases she's
Mhm.
talking about, oh, she's so tough on gangs and tough on crime.
There we
You
go.
know the
Okay.
rhetoric, you know the headlines.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
so
No.
that's all the people see, right? They don't, and they talk
Yeah.
about how Courtney Kramer wasn't in the hood, wasn't this, that, and the third. But all you see Fonnie is at the churches and things of that nature, right? But she's also not in the hood and going around outside of what she's doing. You know what I'm saying? So at
Yeah,
the end of the
I d-
day, she is misappropriating the taxpayers' dollars, and she's focused on these headlines of all these various RICOs that I think it's 5 or 6 that she's done since she's got in office. And that's what she's running off of. That's her big thing. That's her big ticket is these RICOs, saying that I can get all these criminals off the street. But then when you look at the bigger picture of things, that's only a minute part of being a DA, you know?
Yeah, I just kind of wondered what was the local feeling, because it did kind of disconnect for me, but I'm not local. I don't know what, sells or what, people want there. So it's nice to have the kind of that perspective, because I was like, she got reelected. It's like people are dying in jail before they're getting their cases even seen. What is going on?
most people say screw them, they're probably there because they're bad guys. And that's the
Yeah.
sad part of it.
That's exactly because people don't understand the judicial system from the
Yeah.
bare minimum of the judicial system, from
And
We
the
need to have
jail or
classes
the
in
police
school,
station.
civics, have them have mock trials, have people I mean, that would be lovely if we gave
You
people a
will
little
see-
bit more of a perspective.
you want to see government officials screaming and opposing education, that will get it to happen immediately. And
Oh my God, I could take down the Department
and
of
Empress,
Education.
and this is something you mentioned, but it's true. Okay, well, they find out, oh, we had the wrong guy, and they let you go. Well, even if let's say it's only 3 or 4 days, which a lot of people might say, oh, it doesn't sound like that bad. Call your whoever you are out there right now. Imagine you have to call your job and say, you don't have the luxury of like being able to take time off. You don't have PTO, any of that, where they'll let you just take it, no questions asked, or call in sick. You can say, hey, boss, I'm not going to be in today or tomorrow. Why? Funny story. I'm in jail. You know what's going to happen? You're going to hear, don't come back, click. And then it turns out, hey, boss, you try to show up. Look, they were wrong. They had the wrong guy. They're like, don't care. Don't come back.
Yep.
So now you've lost your job. And let's say maybe, it happens to be the days, where things usually, when it rains, it pours, your rent was due. You were there to pay your rent. So if you show up a couple days later, hey, look, I'm out. Now you find out, like, you got charged with what? Now they really don't want to deal with you. Maybe like your car got towed in the meantime when wherever it was you got arrested from, they didn't seize your car, but it got towed out of the parking lot.
Because
now
people take things that as face value. All they see is the headline, and the headline is, "Oh, you went to jail." They don't care what for, why, any of that stuff. That's,
exactly.
That's such.
And that's, but yeah, I mean, but it's so, guys, when you're out there, when you think about it, it's all these little things that start building up, and some of you might be out there like, I can handle a couple $100 if I need to at a time. Most people can't. And now you've got to like get your car out. Now you got to worry about trying to get your rent paid. You got to worry about trying to find a job now, and you've gotten screwed over on all this stuff. I mean, it's very, the idea of people being incarcerated pre-trial should be a very, very, last ditch matter, because otherwise you get the Fulton County Jail. I mean,
or you get Westfield Prison.
Well, that too, but I'm just saying on a more common thing. And I hope when we get to the report, there's some crazy stuff that happened in that jail that even I'm surprised by. Like the Shawshank incident.
They don't have lawyers. They don't have lawyers down there to even handle all of the cases that are on their plate.
How could they? So many.
So it's a lot of issues in Fulton County. They need an entire overhaul completely.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't.
And it starts with the DA.
Too much.
Yeah. This is from inside a cell at Fulton County.
Hell.
Yeah.
This is the cell of the guy who was dead by bed bugs.
Dead?
Yeah. A guy died in Fulton County Jail, and when they did the autopsy, he was completely covered in bed bugs and bed bugs bites.
God damn.
Yeah. That is what people are in today, because now they have somewhat, they are doing some renovation modifications, but that also means that all of the inmates who, I believe it was built for around 1,300 inmates, and about a month after completion, they put in extra beds in the cells and have had over 2,000 people in there constantly, topping off at 3,200 at one point inside that jail. Now they're about a quarter of the prison of the jail is under modification renovation. So now 1,700 are at an area that is designed for less than 1,000. And the numbers, if I remember correctly, now, since the DOJ announced that they were going to investigate Fulton County Jail, the number of deaths have gone down. Now it's only 3 per year, 2022 and 2023. But 2019, when Shane Kendall died, they had 13. And that isn't even taking into account the stabbings, the assaults, everything. And some of the arguments, well, you need to give tough love so they don't want to go back there. Well, tough love is a weekend. That's a dad asking the sheriff, can you lock my unruly son in your jail for the night? That's tough love. People have been 17 years olds have been in there for over a year in those conditions.
And if you treat people like dirt, like trash, there is no incentive to pull yourself up.
Exactly. And how are
Because-
they supposed to do better mentally?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then come back
you-
out into society and be an upstanding citizen, or a citizen that wouldn't commit the same crime again, or may not be in the same position to have to be in that situation again if they're innocent, or whatever. There's the slop that they feed them. You can't, your mental can't be right, whether in jail or out of jail, if you're not feeding your body correctly, right? So they're not feeding them correctly. They don't have proper hygiene happening in there, or many jails across the country. Nothing to help with their mental stability, or to reground them, or to get them back into a place where they don't have to do whatever it is they did to get in there, right? That's the bigger issue, That's the bigger issue.
Yeah.
I feel like the population put this as a very low priority. And because when it comes down to it, these are prisoners as far as they're concerned. They're bad guys, like
Exactly.
would say. Yeah, they're the bad guys. So why would we put our energy and our resources into making this situation better when there's so many other things that are more important, like healthcare and roads and things like that?
Well,
so it's,
And the funny
Well,
thing
it's
is, they still
also
don't take care of
NIMBY.
those either.
I'm
Yeah.
sure they don't. But this doesn't seem
Yes.
like an election kind of platform.
But
what I
they've
mean?
given them $300 million. They just said it in the press conference yesterday. So with that $300 million, something needs to be dedicated to rehabilitation, mental health, the
halfway houses,
the
but
hygiene,
no one wants
all
them in
that.
their neighborhood.
Yeah.
No one wants a big, rehabilitation facility, say a campus, a fenced campus where you can learn skills, where, yes, it is disciplined, but you're a low risk offender. But no one wants that in their neighborhood. That's the problem.
But who said that? Have people polled people in various communities across the
Well,
country to ask that
Every
question?
time people try to put in, say, a halfway house, you have the city council saying, yes, of course we want. I mean, we've had this in my own city where, we can maybe build a homeless shelter or something like that. The people that live around there will say no, like, this is going to bring down our property values, this. So
What's
it's
going to bring
always
down your property value is people going back into the community doing the same shit. Excuse my French. I'm
Ab-
sorry, doing
No,
the same thing that
exactly.
they did before they.
It's absolutely, but there is a big NIMBY. Like, people want to do something, kind, good, and that kind of thing, but just not in my neighborhood.
That's
Oh,
And it's not great.
not
but
in my
it's just the
not in my
truth.
backyard. That's
I hate that. That's
yeah.
so disheartening. Like,
yeah.
maybe we should change the name and not call them halfway houses. Or redo the wording that we send to the Senate. Like, regurgitate the information in a way that the people can consume it, right?
Market
So
it
that
better.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
the
but
Georgia State
also, if
Lab
you don't-
changed it. Yeah, the Georgia State Lab changed its name to Georgia Bureau of Investigations.
But also, if you don't know the system, if you haven't had a loved one that's had to deal with all the fees, so yeah, you might get home detention. You've got to get the internet. You've got to have your ankle
Gotta have a
monitor
phone
hooked
line.
up. You've got to have a phone line. You've got to pay fees for drug things,
Daily.
fees for your classes, fees for the probation, and you may not be able to get a job. I mean, I've lived this with someone, and it's like fee after fee after fee after fee.
in saying that, why isn't the money in these public jails across the country, or even the private jails, the money, instead of them telling us all the time it's $23,000 per inmate or whatever, I think us, the taxpayers, would be glad to know that our money is going to rehabilitate people versus continuing to condemn their mental health and then put them back into the neighborhood because you decide to give them a plea deal or probation or something like that without first rehabilitating them. I think the taxpayers would love to know that our money was going towards that instead of our money going towards feeding them slop and allowing all the shenanigans that go on between not, really doing great background checks on the deputies, right? Because we see in Fulton County alone, every other week there's something going on with a Fulton County deputy. You see what I'm saying? So it's a not putting the money where the money should be issue. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be the bad guy.
Yeah, and Fulton County has gotten extra funds for different things. They got funds for a youth center. Money is gone, youth center is not built. They got extra funding in 2021 or 2022 of $1.2 million because, you need to fix some things up. in the Fulton County Jail, and it went to, and the examples there was shown in was recreationals for the staff as bouncy castles for family days, Christmas presents in form of a honey smoked ham. What did they do for the prison, for the jail? They bought in new tasers.
Great.
Yeah.
That's what I always wanted.
Well,
And these 17-year-olds who are there for a year or more, what do they learn while they are there? They learn to be
Savages.
better criminals, worse criminals.
Well, but that's where people, when they think about jail, they're like, when you tell them, well, hey, the jail sucks, it's a horrible living conditions. You know what happens? And, and I can tell you this much. I guarantee you get the same answer if you ask people. Empress, do you live in Atlanta?
No, I'm actually in Chicago.
Chicago? Okay.
Cook County.
Yeah, if you could like walk around people in Cook County, you say, hey, just to people in Cook County, hey, did you hear it sucks at the jail there? You know what? A lot of people are going to say, good, it should suck.
That's exactly how the conversations go. And it's because people, maybe we need to propagate, since people love propaganda so much, and propagate and show them why what's happening is bad and how that creates serial and career criminals, and put that information out there, and then maybe they can understand, because all they understand is, oh, you in jail, like you said, when it comes to people's jobs and things of that nature, people's landlords, people not trying to hear that. Once they hear jail, they automatically think guilty. But in this country, you're innocent until proven guilty. And so there needs to be something else to propagate for the everyday lay human to understand how people are being treated. In this case alone, I'll say, has brought people from all, the YSL case specifically, has brought people from all walks of life to open to see things that many of us have known for decades, since way back when, right? So we've already known that this is an issue, but Fulton County has put a spotlight on the issue, and it's causing people to look at their own stuff, right? And I think that everything happens for a reason, and I hope that maybe Fulton County can be the anchor for saying in America that we won't let this happen, and we want reform, real reform. And when in the press conference they were told, oh, you got the 300 million, are you going to build a new jail? And the man's answer was, no, we just got to tidy up some things.
And that one thing that is good that comes out of this highly publicized YSL trial is just how easy it is to get plea deals when you throw people into the most horrible condition. I mean, from what I've seen and heard, these are, a little bit of backstory. I did my military service when the Berlin Wall was still up. And part of our training is we learn interrogations techniques in order to withstand what's the word I'm looking for here? In order to resist.
Woo,
And
I got it right.
the things we were taught back in the day, because we basically are neighbors to the then Soviet Union. We had to learn those things. And from what I see happening in Fulton County Jail and the investigators, there are some clear similarities between Soviet interrogation techniques and what is happening, and also in the Richard Allen case, in the Delphi-case. That Reed technique reminds me so much about former Soviet Union interrogation techniques. Now, they were a bit more violent there if they needed to, but just the thing with the Haldol was Soviet Union's favorite drug to make people do, say, and think the way you wanted. At least enough for a trial, and then off you go to Siberia.
I can't even get over what has just happened in regard to that. I mean, and this is, I feel like there's so many Rick Allens, there's so many people who are incarcerated potentially before even going to trial. But honestly, I don't care if you've been to trial or been found guilty, not guilty of whatever crime. you should not be tortured like that. I am so angry that someone was tortured.
Yeah.
This is,
Mm.
it's not okay. More
Yeah.
people need to know about what happened.
Yeah.
More people need to be aware that these things are happening in jails, in prisons.
Yeah.
These
And
things are happening.
Yeah. And in the YSL case and in the Delphi case, there are the same talking heads that makes excuses for it, for this. Same talking heads, and it's, well, they are in there by themselves, they have themselves to blame. But torture, folks? Torture? Seriously?
Yeah. This Centurion company also has something to answer for as well. I don't know if you've looked into that, but the company that pays Dr. Waller and Dr. Martin, there's a lot of civil cases against them. They provide mental health care for a lot of prisons and jails around the country. And they basically just take money.
What's the name of it?
Provide mental health care. Centurion.
Yeah, they're one of the top 5. I mean, we have NAFCare in Georgia, or in Fulton County Jail. Now, even NAFCare is pulling out now because they don't get paid. So, where is all the money going? But it seems to be the similar lowest bidder gets unqualified personnel, and that's enough. I mean, from what
Welcome to government procurement, Nick.
Yeah, I know. I live in a bureaucracy. I know.
I know. It's like you got it.
Yeah, and I mean, and even we don't do that crap because we do still have some with the our prison system goes the fundamental theory or is we need to rehabilitate. Yeah, they need to be punished, but also rehabilitated, because we can't just throw everybody in jail for the rest of their lives or in prison. And if you get a 5-year sentence for some drug, yeah, but you're still getting out to society again. How do you want that person to come back to society? A worse criminal or somebody who has been taught a trade?
Exactly.
100%.
But we are still in that, at least in the common folks' eyes, no, only punishment.
Because it's all this retribution.
Yeah, I mean, one step ahead, please. Think one more step. Yes, punishment. Okay, we understand. Then what?
I think a lot of things are converging. You have people, in a sad and tragic way, the opioid crisis, the addiction to, painkillers, and how it is so ubiquitous, how it has touched almost every single person's life, really gives people an insight into crime and how the criminal justice system works. At least that's how I got my taste of it. Living and loving someone with a substance abuse problem that, often put him in, conflict with the law. But you start seeing the other side of it. You start seeing all the fees. You start seeing all the hoops. You start seeing how it's more about collecting the fees than helping people. And it gets to the point where, yes, there are some people that should never be out in society, and we have to keep those people in. But there are people that could be helped, and what are we doing to do that? And yes, it's going to be a hard row. You can't just, it's like when you have a toddler, and if you had a toddler and you never told them no, and then all of a sudden you started to do, regular Gen Z parenting, where you told them no. There's going to be resistance. You're going to need people in there that are tough but kind and human. It's not going to be easy. You're going to have to pay things. We're going to have tough discussions, but it can be done. And I really hope that what I take comfort in is that a couple of years ago, I was that person. If the state brings him in, they've got everything on him. It's an open and shut case. What I will say is that having all these disparate YouTubers, having us lay people and lawyers get together and look at trials and give different perspectives, I think is waking people up. I think people are really cutting off from the mainstream media, and they're getting to hear different perspectives. I mean, I wouldn't know, all the things I know if I didn't ask questions and I didn't get this opportunity to be on panels like this where I talk to people from all over and get so many different perspectives and so many different stories behind the scenes. And I think people are waking up, and that's what gives me hope. It's a slow wake up. It's a hard time to wake up, for normies and to get into this. But people are waking up, and I do take comfort in that.
Yeah, but here, then you come to the bus stop people. I mean, we have true crime YouTubers who have millions of views. But most people don't care. Still, the bus stop people, they don't watch crimes. They barely read the newspapers. They get called into jury duty and then say, "Oops, what is this? Oh, he has. Oh, that's the one. I wonder what he did." And that's the hard part. But the more, I believe, even the bad channels, I will not name names, Nancy Grace, are still waking people up. Because even the bad channel drives audience who think, "Oh, that other person is also covering this. I wonder what they are saying." And especially when it comes to the YSL trial now, when Young Thug has taken a plea deal, I can see the audience slipping down more a bit more and more. But we can't.
I was gonna say we're still
covering
fighting
it.
Yeah, there's still a whole battle to fight.
Yeah, because
but it does make sense though. I mean, it's the Young Thug trial. Well, where's Young Thug?
Yeah,
I know, it totally makes sense.
Yeah, and yes, Darcy, Nancy Grace was a Fulton County DA.
For how long?
Not
Again,
that, 2 terms, I think, 8 years. And then she retired from it after she got overturned a couple of times because she
This is some information.
Yeah.
Oh, Nancy Grace, she's been rebuked by numerous courts of appeal for kind of being a scumbag.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What years was she a DA in Fulton County?
Quite a while. I mean, that's where she her career.
It was 8 to 10 years or something like that, and it was in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s.
Potentially criminal. Are you telling me that the woman who only listened to 2 hours of testimony in the Delphi trial and gave a, opinion as to his guilt and may possibly be Ursula in her land form? Though I don't know how she was able to come to my state. I have to fumigate now with so much sage and a Unitarian priest. You have no idea. It's ridiculous. The bad vibes here are just ridiculous now that she's been here.
Interesting. But I wanted to speak, if you don't mind, Nick, about we were talking about more, light on the YSL trial. We do have a Twitter page an X page set up for Little Rod, his girlfriend and family. We set it up. It's called Justice for the number 4 Little Rod, and we have a Give, Send, Go set up for him so that he can get proper counsel for when the trial does start after the appeal process. Because as of now, his portion of things, even though they're co-defendants, everybody kind of stands alone, but still kind of teeter-totters together. So he still has to get his stuff taken care of on that end. And then as far as, us sticking it out, the protest, this part 2 is next Thursday in Atlanta, in Fulton County. And we hope to make a lot more noise this time. We're going to be a lot more organized as well. And we're not starting at 7 a.m. We are starting at 9 a.m. though. People said 7 a.m. was too early, but I did have my reasoning for
it can be early.
Well, the news was out there at 5 a.m. so people were ready to go. But nevermore, it's in the coming days, you guys that are following me or following the protest or the trial, you'll hear a lot more about what we're going to do this time around. And I hope that people do come out. Or at least stream, tell a friend, get the word out, because the energy and the mission is starting in Fulton County, and we're going to figure that baby out and get that adjusted some way, somehow. We're doing a lot of work behind the scenes. So just
awesome.
Put that out there.
That's awesome news.
There's levels. Fulton County got a lot going on. you know, and as we were
Mhm.
sitting here talking and dissecting, like that's all those different things are taking place in Fulton County. And it just disturbs me about the deputies. That's a big issue there, right? And it's just, there's a lot of puzzle pieces that need to be fixed, and it really started with getting Fonnie out of there. But since they didn't want to vote Fonnie out of there, there's other ways to remove the DA. So
And Fonnie Willis had $1 million campaign.
multi.
At least $1 million, and for a job that pays her not $1 million.
Yes.
And
well, if you're
the
Nathan Wade,
person-
it pays $1 million.
Yeah, and the person who went up opposed to her, basically no experience, fresh out of law school, maybe 3 or 4 years in the field, and she still got a third of the votes. I mean, had she done a proper campaign, or if anybody actually bothered to put up, here's my campaign, independent, Republican, I don't care, I believe they would have voted her out. And especially if the DOJ have had the balls to get the report out before the election.
The
Because
issue with her opponent, Courtney said she didn't have enough money for the campaign that she would have liked to have run. But what she didn't do was utilize social media to the best of her ability. What she didn't do was go into the neighborhood and the communities. What she didn't do was put her face in front of these people's face that were going to vote. She, even leading up to 2 weeks, she was in the spaces with us, and I'm just calling it like it is. She was in spaces with us online, and people that are in Fulton County said to her, hey, come out to the neighborhood, come out to the community. She had more than a month before the election to do that, and she disregarded. We even approached her about helping her with the campaign. We didn't say dollars, we said anything, because the whole point was we wanted Fonnie out, right? And she didn't do that. Leading up, we were so out. She said, hey, y'all, reach out to you to talk. She never hit me back, you know, but she was going to certain platforms that wasn't necessarily for her, that aren't necessarily in Fulton County, that she could have ran against, because the gentleman that was running against Fonnie back in, was it March or May or whatever, and she lost against him. Now the only person that you had was Courtney, and Courtney didn't put her best foot forward, knowing that the DOJ was already in there, knowing all these various things that was taking place. It was for show. And I don't know if Atlanta doesn't have more people that would like that position of fixing Atlanta, but that DA position is wide open for y'all to come in. Y'all can start y'all campaign now to know for sure that 4 years from now she'll be out. But there's a lot going on now that she may not be in long anyway. So toots to her.
Yeah, this is Lil Rod's. This is the one, right, Empress?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and I have the link posted on top of the chat. And one thing that I like to do is turning stuff into fundraisers. So, hold on here while I drag something up here.
Oh, wowzers.
Dun, dun, dun.
So, Empress, I guess I have a question.
Sure.
If in a perfect world we had enough funds and resources, would you like politicians to focus on coming to you guys, getting your ideas, and then putting them into motion, having maybe a community council that has multiple voices, and then possibly buttressing that or sandwiching that with, you know, classes about civics. This is how our government works. This is how our justice system works.
A lot of us would love that. A lot of us want that, instead of them taking the money from the corporations and doing what the corporations want them to do. Do what the people want you to do. The people are yelling to the mountaintops. People are unaliving themselves because of the way this country is ran. There are things that need to happen, and we need them to listen to us before they don't have a them. And I mean, taking our money out of their businesses and taking our money out of their different things. I was speaking today. I said at 8, I woke up really early this morning, and then at 8 a.m. I posted and I said, a lot of the issues that you guys are talking about, your 401k, the company that you work for, those investments are going into the very things that you guys say that you don't like and you don't want. But the job that you walk into every day is funding those very things. That's a problem.
And it's really funny because I think that, you'll find that people on opposite sides, we just want to be heard. Our government doesn't hear us anymore. It doesn't work for us. We are its workers, and this is wrong.
Exactly. This is a republic. This is not a democracy.
Yes. Thank you, Jesus, tiny baby Jesus. You said that. I am so tired of hearing.
That was a big thing during the election. Everybody's like, "This is the democracy," and I'm like, "What democracy? Are we on the same planet?" Did you? Now, I didn't graduate from high school, and I got a GED, right? But the basics of understanding, I didn't take a civics class or any of that. But we, the republic for which it stands.
Yeah, and that's the
that
thing.
changes how you should view the government.
It doesn't matter if you didn't get a high school graduation. I'm a twice, college dropout. But here on this platform, we can give our opinions. We can talk freely. And I really hope that, it's pie in the sky. I don't have a giant channel. I'm not Oprah. But if I can encourage people to talk to people on the other side, we're so much more alike than we just want to be heard. We just want to be heard, and we want our government to work for us. We don't want to work for the government. And it's so insanely upsetting to see these kind of miscarriages of justice, this kind of, government, David and Goliath. And I've lived that. I've lived where, we're scraping by for groceries and, we have to pay fees, or he's going to go back to jail and he's the one that works because I'm, I have a kid to watch and we can't afford daycare. So you need to get people that have seen the other side to kind of explain to other people how it is on that side.
Absolutely.
And that's what I wish we would do more, because both sides want to fix the problem. They just see it through different lenses. And if we could do that without, I don't know. I wish I were Jesus.
I was going to say, I have an organization that I've put together called the BASE Project, which is Bravery Against Society Standards. And that's actually my mission. My mission is to close the gap in communication, not necessarily bridge, but close the gap in communication between the inner city and the rural America, and just in general, because we have more in common than we don't. And it starts with...
That's the big thing.
That's the big thing. And so that's literally my platform. I'm not Jesus, but I'm a woman that has seen, I've been to 40 different states, 3 different countries. And I see that we're so much more alike. And the people that I talk to people from everyday people on the streets to people sitting in the boardrooms, and I'm hearing the different, and I'm like, we're all saying the same thing, but we're so divided because of all these titles and all these classes and all these various things that I feel like I can bridge that gap, or at least help bridge that gap, and bring those people from the various communities together at a bigger round table and say, you're from Oklahoma, you're from Chicago, you're from Kansas, you're from wherever, and sit down and say, this is what we need to do, and bring something to the table. Because as you said, that we are the ones that are paying our government. Our government, it's not the other way around. And once we learn civics and we understand the Constitution and we understand the Declaration of Independence, understand all these different bills, and understand that in the Declaration, if the government is not for our benefit, we have a right to abolish it. And then you have to go about it in a certain manner. You can't just say, okay, we want this over. You have to be able to present something to the people, we the people, right? You have to present something to the people that counteracts what's already there, and then decide to move on to that. We don't have to ask for permission to do so. We just have to make sure that we're already in position when we do so.
Absolutely.
Okay, I have the basics here for the fundraiser. Which
have a girl crush.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You're speaking my language.
I'm going to have to jump right now, though, unfortunately. I have my little girl's concert today. It's the end of the year, so she's going to do her ballet today. I know. See you guys. Have a good spin.
Bye.
Hella.
Good conversation.
Have a wonderful weekend.
Bye. All right, justice for Little Rod. The conditions are $100 to Little Rod's fundraiser.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
10 gifted memberships here, and I will spin the wheel of regrets. So if you want to see me do the hiccups due to the hot sauce and get absolutely smashed, now's the time to start. And I've done it before. I will do it again.
This is
I
awesome.
did it for the Sakura Anderson case. I did it for the Rick Allen's expert fund, and I'm doing it here. So,
have you eaten carbs today, or is this on an empty stomach? Because I feel
I
feel the
had
mama
something
bear
to
coming
eat
on
5
like
or 6 hours ago. So yeah,
you're gonna be. Well, I'm such a lightweight. I'm like I have wine with Coke or Sprite Zero in it. So I'm
That
always
sounds
amazed when
tasty.
Nick can, just drink and drink. That was the weirdest thing about joining LawTube. I don't drink a lot, so they're just over here on shots, and I'm like, I got some Diet Sprite and some wine. I'm ready to go. Like I'm ready for child number 7. Come over here. We're gonna put on some honky tonk badonka donk and Indiana it up.
all right. Yeah, as Judy says, no, not 25 gifted memberships, 10 gifted memberships. 10. No. The
She was like,
important thing
"Raise
here
up."
is not to give cash to me. It is to get to the Gives and Go, Justice for Little Rod. And the starting point is at 107. He has so far raised $175.
Beautiful.
And we are up to $215. So another $40 has gone in.
God. Thank you, everybody.
And now the important stuff here is not to make me spin the wheel. It is to get some cash into Lil Rod's representation so he can get proper representation. Because remember, the difference between good representation and normal representation is Munktunk, who is now in prison, and what's his name? Who they didn't call all of a sudden. Duke, who's no longer called. And also, what's that lawyer's name? She's
Ashley?
amazing.
Oh,
yeah, Ashley Merchant.
Mm-hmm.
She was scared of the entire prosecution from calling her client.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference between normal representation and good representation. So, yeah. See here.
That's the big difference. Because, yes, the current appeal lawyer that he has, he's not actually his lawyer. He just works the appeal. He's given the case. But this is the same appellant that went through and found all the information that needed to be found. Ms. D. Williams said it on Taylor Umbridge's show about a week ago. And she better explained it. And so I was able to better explain the fact that we're getting a lawyer so that when Little Rod's appeal does come up and he does end up going back to court, which he will, he needs a lawyer to handle that, and that cost. So it's tough out here, especially when you can tell, we saw from this case how it was set up and he's not guilty. And I'm thankful that he's getting the chance to even be heard to have an appeal. And however I can help the family continues with his girlfriend and his aunt and his brother, then that's what I'm going to do. And so I didn't know that you were going to do this tonight because I would have had them come in. I will let them know and send them this link and show them, what you guys did for him tonight. And I'm sure he'll be appreciative of it.
Question: where is the link to the Gives and Go? It's pinned on the top of the chat. So, but let's see here.
I have a 19-year-old, and seeing that Little Rod is 20, it's like that could be my child that's falsely accused. That that it's deep for me. So I'm just happy that I can help in any way that I can.
So, it is so worrisome as a boy mom. I have to sit. I worry about sending them to college because all it takes is one girl being angry and accusing them of something, and there is no probable cause, there is no due process. They are just kicked out of school and their life is ruined. And it is so scary as a mom of any gendered kid, to have to sit down and say, look, if you do something, if you connect with someone, it's just a whole different world. And I'm so worried. I've got an 18-year-old, and it's like I don't want to release them into this world. I do not want to because it's so crazy. It's
Yeah.
so chaotic. But you have to let them go, and it's such a hard thing. So I
All you can do is
completely
pray that
understand
you
that.
prepared them to be able to go out into the jungle. Because it's
Absolutely,
a jungle. So
Empress.
all you can do is hope that you prepared them with honesty and truth, and not just necessarily what you wanted them to hear, but the real honest to God truth. Because it's once you let them go out, it's a
Absolutely.
jungle out there, and
We
they
are
got to be
we are the
guarded.
cushion. We are the
Mhm.
cushion.
Mhm.
If you lie to me, you get grounded, because if you lie to the police, you go to jail.
Mhm.
We're that soft little spot where they can kind of test out their attitude. But there are monsters out there, and it's
Mhm.
just it's so easy for, someone to say, "Oh, so and so said this." And
Mhm.
then you're in a, I have sat down and talked to my kids, like, if you get any interaction with the police, call a lawyer. Tell them you want a
I've had that
lawyer.
same conversation. It has to be had. It has to be
Yeah,
had.
and it bridges all divides, because the more people that wake up, like, again, I was comfortably in the state is always right, because I had a lot of anger for my first
Mhm.
husband, not gonna lie. But um I was comfortable in the state's always right, they've got it going. And then I started listening to the Rittenhouse trial,
Mm.
and I will tell you, so many people are waking up. I'm not trying to be a Pollyanna. I'm not trying to put a positive spin on everything, but I see people waking up. I see people getting into these trials and starting to see the real world, starting to see
Mhm.
the other side, starting to realize that, yes, the defendants may have done something wrong, but there are generally family members behind them that tried to raise, a good, honest person,
Mhm.
and something
Mhm.
went wrong. And those are victims too.
Mhm.
It really opened my eyes, and it really, brought a kind of healing and an understanding of the other side too. And I'm not like super into feelings, like they confuse me.
Overstood.
but but it really, it's waking people up. The streams that we do, the things that we say, it is waking people up. We've got 600 and 30-ish people here that are listening to us, and it might not be a huge thing, but it's a
Mhm.
small corner of the world. And if all these corners connect,
Mhm.
we can get some change.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
on that note, I am going to leave, because my youngest, most feral child will be up at 4 a.m. in the morning asking for pancakes and bacon. And and,
Overstood.
and God love him. God makes them cute for their own safety, because it's like, it is a Saturday and you want pancakes and bacon. And you're like, yeah, mom, what are you doing? It's not like, what do you do with your life? And I'm like, well, I could be doing the pool boy we don't have, but okay. I was like,
Mm.
I was just gonna sleep just a little bit longer, maybe not have to tell the Sephora lady to give me like the, spackle and primer, but okay, we'll do this.
Mm. So we
Thank you so
started.
much
Yeah. Thank you for
for
being here.
having me. And I'm so excited to have met you, Empress. And thank you, Potentially Criminal,
Absolutely.
for giving us some more information. And thank you, Nick, for having me. And I am going to go to bed now,
Good
because I
night.
turned into a pumpkin at 9. But thank you guys so much for having me. And I really appreciate learning all the new things. I haven't always kept up with the Wild Cell trial, because it's just, between Sarah Boone and Delphi, I was just out of it, to be honest.
Understood.
But thank you guys so
Mm.
much, and I appreciate you guys being here, and support Nick. He just got over 12K as far as I know, and congratulations on that, Nicholas. Hard work, definitely well deserved, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye, guys.
Bye. And we just reached over the from 175 to 410 is 200 and something.
Awesome. Thank
200,
you guys so much.
235 and 10 gifted memberships,
That's
which
so
means a spin on the wheel of regrets. Oh God, why do I do this? And since we are in Georgia, I have my Georgia shot glass. Now, Oop, that's better. So, let's bring out this because I like jugs. 100%. Oh, I'm reaching. I bought this when I was in Georgia, by the way.
Oh, what is it?
It is Platte Valley
Platte Valley.
100% corn whiskey, which is an excellent shot whiskey because it's quite smooth.
I was gonna say it's not rough, yeah.
Yeah, it's not rough. So, thank you guys, and here we go.
Salud.
Yes.
Ugh.
Don't. You got it. You got it.
Yeah. Nom 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 nom. Ah, what we do for folks we have never met.
I love it.
But yeah, I really dislike injustice.
Mhm.
I'm severely allergic to it. And for instance, when it comes to the Sakura Anderson case, one of the first cases I covered, and there was no DNA of Zach on the crime scene, no
Wow.
fingerprint, no nothing, not not even like in Rick Allen's case where people said we saw a bridge guy, and Rick said, "Well, I was there around the time." Not one saw him. His car wasn't caught on any cameras. Nothing put him
Mm.
on the crime scene at the time of the murder,
Wow.
except a 9-minute window where, because according to Zach, he took a nap under which his phone didn't move. So that, according to the prosecution, meant, well, he must have left it at home. So it's damned if you
Wow.
do and damned if you don't. If you leave your phone, if your phone doesn't move, then you must have left it at home.
Mm-hmm.
So
And only bad guys leave their phone at home.
Wow.
yeah, and it was I'm in that case, and I think I brought in an excess of $10,000 through my fundraisers,
Wow.
hoping, I mean, as long as the YSL case goes on, and I promised you guys, I will cover this from gavel to gavel. And this doesn't mean the end of Young Thug because he's already out of the trial.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean the 2 remaining guys.
Mhm.
We have 12
Well,
more.
okay.
2.5 years later, still in jail waiting for this trial to stop so theirs can start. I'm covering this. I told you. I told that over a year ago. Back then I had maybe 300 viewers, but now I have a slightly larger audience. So hopefully, hint, hint, we can reach some goals faster so I don't have to destroy my liver all that time.
All those shots.
And we are up to $435 in
That's so
total.
beautiful.
So it's moving up. It's moving up. Where were we? Yeah. Prison reform in general. Now, that's a hard thing for a politician to go to election.
Yeah, it's tough. Hey,
Yeah.
I don't want prison to be tough on people. You know, when you're running as a politician, you know, there's going to be like there's two, like, I want to, you know, one politician says put all the bad guys in jail, and the other one says, well, maybe they all don't need to go to jail, and we should try to work and help them out.
Yeah.
Every time it turns into putting bad guys in jail is the only acceptable answer people want to hear.
Yeah. And sadly,
that goes back to the nature of the whole issue.
Yeah, and that goes back to this the basic form of humans to want revenge. Things that we should have overcome somewhat as a society, but we're still there. We are still there. Island Girl, is there an alternative suspect to Sakura Anderson? Yes. There, and he wasn't either allowed a third-party culprit defense. Because even though that other person had history of beef with the victim, was spotted at least the same day of the crime, or according to the victim himself, said to his then girlfriend, I'm going to meet up with this person. Not enough. Not enough. We better pin it on Mr. Anderson, because in his work van they found a pin-sized dot of brownish red material, which the DNA expert said this is a match to the victim. Here's the thing. Sakura Anderson just broken off with Sadie Beecham. Sadie Beecham's new boyfriend was the victim. So there is a connection there, which the prosecution claimed, well, he was so insanely jealous. He had a new girlfriend. So there's not a lot of nexus there. And the victim's girlfriend, Sadie Beecham, was not his only girlfriend. He had, that we know of, one more, and one which he planned to, because his other one, she drove there to meet him that night at his apartment. But she claims, well, I only stopped outside, I didn't see anything, and 45 minutes later I drove away. Who in the right mind, for a supposed booty call, sits in the car outside the apartment and does nothing for 45 minutes? I don't know.
Did he pass away in that time frame? Did the gentleman pass away in that time frame?
Yes, because that is the only time the prosecution can claim that Sachs, he had the time to drive there, commit the crime, and drive back.
That 9 minutes?
9-minute gap. And in those 9-minute gap, he hid outside the victim's apartment door, started to bludgeon him inside, knocked on the door, whatever, and when the victim opened the door, started to bludgeon him. There are blood spatter in the apartment that shows it's been a struggle. There's also in the apartment where you can see that the victim sat down on the sofa because there's pooling of blood at some point. And then there's pooling of blood on the floor.
Wow.
Where there used to be a rug, a 7-foot by 5-foot rug. The prosecution claims, well, Mr. Anderson, a 6-foot, 200-pounder, rolled up this guy in this 5-foot by 7-foot rug, and the victim was 6'2", 270 pounds, and then managed to take this 270-pound man in that rolled up rug and carried him without leaving any drag marks or blood drips. Put him in the back of his work van at the 3-foot by 4-foot area, and the only blood evidence was one pin-sized dot of DNA. And he was Sakura Anderson was convicted.
Really?
So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Because he was a bad guy, according to the state, and they pointed at him, and he wasn't allowed to bring in the other suspects.
There was other suspects?
Yeah. But he wasn't allowed a third-party culprit defense because just like in Indiana, in their Franks whatever, they have a similar in Wisconsin. You have to show credible evidence of a person. So it wasn't enough that this other person was in the area, that the victim himself said, I'm going to meet up with this person who has a history of money beef with the victim, and the day after was caught with a rolled up rug in his pickup truck that he did because another person, oh, can I have that rolled up rug because I need to put it on my patio for the dogs? And he said, no, you cannot.
Wow.
Then drove to a neighboring state, not the local dump or landfill, neighboring state landfill, and dumped
And this was the other suspect.
This was the other suspect. Yes, we know that Zach sold weed. It was brought in, even though you're not supposed to bring in,
past convictions.
past convictions or bad character evidence. It was brought in. Yeah.
Hey, Nick, I have to get going. I don't mean to cut you short.
Oh, you were here late and you're leaving early.
That's how I roll.
It was nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too, Empress. And
Nice
I wish you guys the best of luck with what you can organize down in.
Thank you so much.
Down there, and certainly be happy to promote whatever it is you guys are doing out that way. And
thank you.
And I think for a lot of people, I think it helps to, you guys out there, the issues are the same everywhere. So they're really, there is so much more in common than there is that's not.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because even with the YSL and the Delphi trial and the Sakura Anderson case, we still have this absolute lack of evidence, but it is spun into meaning more than it is by a prosecution who wants a win. And it happens all over. But it happens on this side of the pond as well. So we're not immune just because we don't have a jury system. We're not immune to this. Now, it doesn't happen in the same degree, but it still happens because people want to convict someone for a crime, a horrible crime that has been committed. And according to Fani Willis, in her quest to become the next Attorney General of Georgia, her way was RICO. With the YSL RICO, with the now President-elect RICO.
The teachers.
The teachers RICO, which was, I heard, is also completely bonkers bullcrap. And there's also
Cop City.
Cop City. Thank you. All she does is RICO. Meanwhile, 17-year-olds are spending more than a year in jail waiting for their and disregard the suspects. There are currently in Fulton County, I will lowball this number, around 4,000 cases that waits for a trial. Those are victims who waits for their day in court in order to meet their accuser. There are more than 2,000 untested grape kits, SA kits, that has not been tested yet, going back 3, 4, 5 years. Some of them are going to be near the statute of limitations. And Fani Willis got funds for those testings. But Fani Willis also believed that once the DA's office receive the funds, she can do whatever she wants with it. And she chooses RICO trials because she wants to be re-elected and also elected up. Now, I don't think she will be elected up anymore because she took on president-elect. And all of a sudden, we know everything about Nathan Wade. All the lying, all the cheating, everything. And yeah, and if you're supposed to be this morally superior being, I don't know, sleeping with a married man and lying about it in church on a Martin Luther King sermon, your moral standard is non-existing, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So,
anyways, Nick, like I said, I'll see you guys.
yeah.
And you guys take care, okay?
Yeah,
All right, you
you
as
too.
well.
You too.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, Empress.
Okay, where are we at the gives and go? We are still at 435.
We're appreciative of everything. I appreciate the funds that were raised right now. That's so unexpected. I'm sure they'll love to hear that. I'm going to call them as soon as I get off.
Now, for next Friday, this was unprepared. Normally, I prepare people for, hey, I'm going to have a drinking fundraiser, because a certain type of my audience only show up for those events. So I can tell you guys right now that for next Friday panel show, which will probably be a YSL only panel show, it's going to be a fundraiser.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
Once I get my mind made up, yeah, good luck changing it. I'm a bit of a stubborn asshole, and I also have a concrete liver.
So you can take all the whiskey.
I can take all the whiskey.
Indeed.
I mean, me and Jeff on Legal Vices, we had a Viking drink off where I think we stopped, or the stream was stopped after 30 shots.
30 shots independently? Each of you or you?
Each.
Oh, baby, you got it. Ain't no way. You got it. You take it.
Yeah, no, I let's just say I was out for a few days after that one.
Recovering. It's okay.
Yeah,
For a good
recovery. Yeah, hopefully we won't need that kind of. But here's the thing: next Friday again, $100 to Lil Rod's gave him proper representation fundraiser, and 10 gifted memberships to me, and I will spin the wheel. Who?
I appreciate
what the
that.
Frick? Hold on here. What happened here? Oh. Thank you to Heidi for your $50 via PayPal. Thank you so much. Which means more than $200 over there, and this is equivalent of a bunch of memberships are $3 a pop, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will get one soon.
No worries. Hopefully you will get gifted one. So
come on, YouTube.
This means we are at another spin of the wheel. It's the wheel of regrets.
Let's see. Okay.
Yeah.
Sour shot it is.
Sour shot it is. Sour shot is, this is called Little Sour Cola.
Okay. Maybe you can start getting some sponsorships, and every time you show it, every time you do a fundraiser.
Yeah, I would love for anybody to reach out for sponsorship for my Wheel of Regrets things. So far, not.
Speak it into existence.
Now, sour cola is actually, once you get past the sour bit, because this is real sour. It's like one of these hard sour candies. What do you call them? Yeah. So once you get through that, it's actually quite delicious.
Salud.
Yeah.
That first little.
Ooh. All right.
You got it.
Yes, I got it. Oh, we are at 435. We need 40 more bucks for another spin of the wheel. Thank you to Chris Mullen. 5 memberships. I lost count on what the memberships are to me and the money via PayPal and stuff. So $40 more to the gives and go. Pinned on the top of the chat. Either way, it is right here. It's Justice for Lil Rod. So if
And again,
you
if people want to stay up to date, follow the X page, Justice for Lil Rod, and as soon as more information becomes available with his appeals process, we'll make sure that the page is updated continuously.
let's see, here is the Justice for Little Rod page. There it is. Go follow it. And okay, let's see here if anything happens since no, still 435 is with 40. Okay, so $260 raised so
Awesome.
far. Yeah. And yeah,
Beautiful. Thank you, guys.
no worries. My audience are used to me doing interesting things here. Okay, the DOJ's investigation.
Mm-hmm.
What I hope is getting out from this, because you have had over the years thousands and thousands of people who were in jail for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
got their trial and got acquitted.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I hope there will be a class action suit, because it seems with this report backing them up, that also
this was a stamp of approval. This was like the stamp of approval. It was a lot of rumors and hearsay and people's opinions, but now the stamp is there.
Yeah, and this means that any class action suit can rely on this one, because it not only says, oh, this is horrible now, it has been horrible for a long time. So if any lawyer, class action suit specialized lawyer in the Georgia area, well, you might have an early Christmas present here if you find the people. I don't know anything about class action suits. I know lawyer Tom is a YouTuber who has specialized in that, so who knows? And apparently he's very good at it. So who knows? Okay. Dun dun dun. Oh, okay. But let's get back to something Empress Fox.
Yeah.
Now, I've heard a lot about you being an artist. I must admit, I've seen nothing of it.
Music artist, a graphic designer, photographer. I'm multi hyphenate on things that I do. Yes.
Do you have anything posted on your X?
Music wise.
Well, music. So I don't. I mean, so I don't get copyright claimed. Let's see. Media.
Right.
Let's see here if I can find anything.
Next Friday, when we come back up and do this, the website will be up and running and my entire portfolio will be there. So everybody hold me to that. That's coming. That'll be ready for you next Friday. It'll be up before then, but you'll be able to see my artwork, my photography, everything will be in one place.
Oh, perfect. So we can start to show you off to people also.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, because I have absolutely zero artistic skills. So I can't sing.
Everybody's an artist in their own right.
Yeah, sure. I tried to play the violin when I was a kid, and my dog almost attacked me. Singing is out of the question. And this is because I'm the odd one out in the family, because my mother was in the choir. My dad was a studio musician in the 60s. My sister plays the side flute.
Okay.
Yeah, so completely musical family, but it skipped me.
I totally understand. There's a couple things like that in my family. I totally get it.
Yeah, I mean, now luckily I can do other things like drinking shots for charity, and my entire talent relies on my liver.
That's hilarious.
Oh,
But I
So
am going to have to go in a bit because my tooth. I mean, I wanted to make sure I
yeah.
came on, but my tooth is starting to bother me again. So
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Now
People have given me every remedy under the sun on Twitter. I'm like,
yeah.
I didn't even know half those things were like home remedies. So I'm gonna
Yeah, and
go back.
I also gave you my home remedy, but I
You
don't think
did.
that
You
will
did.
work. I mean, my home remedy was you need to watch Miss Love doing arguments because that's like pulling teeth.
Glad we
And
haven't seen her or see her anymore. I'm gonna let that one
oh
be.
yeah, I mean that letter from Fannie Willis. Oh, we have complete. We believe in you. You
That
are
was
the
her
top gun.
cushioning because she knew she was about to yank Adrian up out of
Yeah,
there. That was
yeah,
her cushioning to say because she knew that the judge would read it. Because why would you pull a letter from Germany? Like all that was like PR, right? So that was
yeah.
to give the cushion to say, oh, we you're doing such a good job. That was just all BS. That was because she knew she was about to pull her up out of there because she was damaging the case.
Yeah, and in my line of
Allegedly.
law, I'm doing labor law. I've seen hundreds of those letters, hundreds, and you see that, and all of a sudden that person, oh, good, my screw up, I still have a job, and then a couple of weeks later, why are you firing me? You said you had a, and then it's when I come in and say, well. That
It's
was
like
your
firing
cushion
101,
because
but
they
unbutton for a
wanted to,
second.
they wanted to extract information from you or something of the sort. Because if they write that letter, we have full confidence in you, and then that's the letter, and then they call you in for a meeting. Just tell us what happened so we can blah 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 blah, and people give them information without a person like me present who can say, oh no. And all of a sudden, that information is what brings it from you might get fired to you are fired. So I've seen hundreds of those, and people buy it.
Every day.
Yeah. Let's see here. Anything happened with the gives and go? Nope. Let me. Folks, come on. Come on. Justice for Little Rod. We are at $260. Another $40, and it's another spin on the wheel. So, folks, do you want to see me completely smashed live on stream? Start giving, and I will continue spinning. Other than that, we are probably reaching the near end. Let me go through a few of these first. Thank you to Cindy White for becoming a member. Dali Talk, thank you for your super chat. Have you visited Stonies? I have no idea what Stonies is. Do you know what Stonies is?
Nope.
I haven't visited it, Dali. I haven't. Paulette, good evening from Massachusetts, USA. Hello, Massachusetts. Jim Cox, being a member for 6 months. Thank you for your continued support. Happy Friday for those of us in the past.
Right.
20th Century Fox, what a great panel. I love everyone here. Thank you so much. Member for 16 months.
Ooh, talk about retention.
Yeah, that is basically from when I got monetized. So I do think 20th Century Fox has changed name since then. Erin Olivia, great conversation, beautiful ladies, and oh, hi Nick. Happy Friday all. Thank you so much, Erin. Erin has been around for a long time. Well, and then Long Kong Express. I heard mailboxes. And Long Kong Express also covers the Sakura Anderson case, because where Sakura Anderson was supposed to hide was near the mailboxes. Oh, let's see it.
Like the mailboxes outside on the corner?
No, mailboxes in an apartment complex.
Apartment complex. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Got it.
Which were just by the door. For the victim, Rosalio Guterres. And let's just say this: if he hid there, he was in plain sight of
'Cause
everyone
are they
in that.
just on the wall?
Yeah. So yeah, he would have been in plain sight.
Mm.
Yeah. So yeah. But mailbox is also in the Delphi case about somebody being by mailboxes. Laugh, always have fun. Let's get the likes up, please. Yes, please. That I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind. Chrissy, 16 years as a producer in mass media, and I agree 100%. Prayers to all of you. Yep. Producer in MM. Yeah, that is about I believe it was about the video enhancement of Bridge Guy in the Delphi case.
Okay.
And sound enhancement. And if the jury there, because that's all they went back in to look at. And if they went in there to listen to the enhanced sound of Bridge Guy to compare it with Richard Allen, it's a bad comparison because it's not even the voice in the recording. It's an enhanced voice. If you hear some mumbling in the background, you remove some of the distortion,
Right.
you bring up some more clarity, and it's a different voice. It's just you can hear what they are saying. So if they claim, well, we believe it's him, well, it's not a real voice. It's basically an AI voice at that point in time. Then this, was it girl part of getting cameras in the courtroom in Indiana? Yet not for this one. Absolutely correct. She was a big supporter of cameras in courtrooms. Yet in the Delphi case, she denied cameras in courtroom. She denied electronics in the courtroom, so everybody had to do pen and paper. And she still hasn't released the the audio recordings.
Wow.
Yeah. Now she claims that will happen after sentencing, which is December 10th or 20th. Julio, thank you so much. Long time no chat. Free Richard Allen. Thank you so much. Julio again. Thank you. If government gets 4 million to prosecute, then the defense should get the same amount. I don't disagree with you. Now, the $4.2 million from the county to prosecute this case and bring it to trial and everything, parts of that went to defense. But that's like maybe $200,000 for an entire case. While now we haven't seen the breakdown yet, so I can't say what happened. World's End new member. Thank you so much. Lacon Express, $2. No reason for the sound to be as poor as it was. I agree. Lacon Express again. Why not use the phone to call 911 or threaten to? With a gun in your face, you don't touch your phone. If that is what happened. I don't know. Starlight Synchronicity. Thank you for your super sticker. Lego Law Life and Libations. I'm a proud member. Are you? Member for a whole month? Yes, folks. For just $3 a month, you get basically hundreds of hours of members-only content, a monthly members-only stream, access to my Discord, and everything. So, hey. STS gifted 10 memberships. We saw that. Thank you so much. And then Kristen Vasquez, Empress, I'm so proud of you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
I agree. Chris Mullen gifted 5 memberships. Thank you so much. Now let's go back and see. Okay, still nothing more, but I believe that is more about people not being prepared for me doing the fundraiser.
Absolutely.
So I will do another
It's all
one next
good.
Friday.
Okay, I have to go. I'm about to scream.
No, yeah, I know. I just
Thank you guys for everything. Thank you so much, Nick, for having me. And next week I will also be prepared and have something to show, so that you could show the people who I am. And I appreciate you doing that.
Thank you for showing up. I would love to have you back next week. And yeah. And take care of that tooth.
I am.
I have other home remedies, but they're all alcohol based, so it just makes you forget
You
about
want
the
me to
pain.
go to sleep? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll go to sleep. All right. Have a good Friday.
Have a good Friday. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
And it's just us guys. It is just us guys. We have had a good day today. Thank you so much for showing up and everything. Let's see here. We are still at that number, $435. We went from 175 to 435. So it is a good start. Now, what I need from you guys for next Friday is spread the word. Spread the word. Little Rod needs proper representation. And on Monday, we are good to go again. We will, I'm not sure if I will probably do the usual recap. Tomorrow, I will do my recap of today. Or of Thursday. Because I wasn't, due to circumstances I couldn't control, I could not stream Thursday and today until now. So tomorrow, if you want to see my recap of the Thursday YSL with Mr. Sprinkles and Detective White Burrito, you tune in tomorrow. I think I will start at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then we will go through it. Well, not all of it, because most of it was complete garbage, but there is a few things that we need to talk about. So that is for tomorrow. All right. Unless anything happens now with the gives and go, again, the link is pinned in the top of the chat. It's 2:48 a.m. here for me, so it's almost 3 a.m. But I do believe you all who have been here, press the thumbs up and everything. You deserve yourselves one on the house. The wheel of regret. Not hot sauce, not hot sauce. And it is the vodka is from Ukraine. It's called Nemirov. It's a decent vodka. Cheers, folks. And thank you all for being here. Thank you for showing up day after day. Thank you for your support of this channel. Without you, this wouldn't happen. And yeah. Hug your family, folks. Unless your family is crap, then screw them and give your love to the people who deserve it. Okay? See you. Cheers. See ya. Bye-bye.
In the courthouse where time stood still, generations pass on the hill. Prosecutors come and go, defense attorneys putting on a show. Old district attorney thought she was tight, came in to visit her tonight. They said justice was blinded by her sins. As the trial spun, no one wins. Endless trial like a river flows. Truth and lies, nobody knows. Corruption's grip tight as a vice. In this endless trial we pay the price.